What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 6 nanoseconds chapter 136. Give the world's most beautiful woman in nice guy card. Because Hancock readily agreed to become 7 warlords of the sea in Dendenmushi, and that old guy Sengoku heard it. Su Ming's plan to use Hancock to slack off completely failed. Moreover, Su Ming was not as comfortable at Amazon as he had imagined. Hancock, who is cold and aloof to others, behaves like a nympho to herself, getting jumpy at every turn. With the addition of Guon, who was also feeling jealous, Su Ming was in a dilemma. At this moment, Su Ming actually missed the sensible Khalifa. That girl would never get jealous about these things. Come to think of it, I haven't been in touch with Khalifa that much lately since I went out to sea. I should make it up to her when I get back. Su Ming has always had a different feeling towards his childhood sweetheart. They were like family in the past, and now that they are together, their relationship is naturally closer. We stayed in Amazon for 3 days. Except Su Ming, most of the Marines on the warship were very happy. That makes sense. Men are a rare commodity in this country of women. In the past, any man who landed on the island would be executed. This time, because of Su Ming, all the Marines on the warship can stay overnight in this country of women. Naturally, many curious residents on the island studied it carefully. And because they were guests, each Marine was treated to delicious food and drinks. These guys are already having a bit of fun. At the dock, each Marine looked listless with sunken eyes. Su Ming covered his face speechlessly. Don't tell me that I brought these good-for-nothings back home. Guon stood aside, looking at Su Ming's depressed expression, covering his mouth and laughing. Darling, where are we going next? On the other side, Boa Hancock walked to Su Ming, with pink light flashing in his eyes. Su Ming turned his head and looked at Hancock seriously. Hancock, can we change the name? The word darling is too. Anyway, you can call me Chief Su Ming, or just call me by my name. If that doesn't work, you can call me by my stage name, Su Ming San Andreas is fine. You are a good person. I don't deserve you. I don't deserve you. Having lived 2 lives, Su Ming never expected that the first time he gave someone a nice guy card, the person receiving the card would be the most beautiful woman in the world. Come to think of it, I am really drifting. Su Ming did not regret his actions. Based on his own experience, Hancock's situation was just a result of lovesickness. But no matter how lovesick you are, there will always be a time to wake up. Su Ming would not be with a little girl who couldn't even control her own emotions. He knew that in the comics, after Hancock fell in love with Luffy, he looked at Luffy through a filter. However, advertisement Su Ming still underestimated Hancock's love brain. When Hancock heard Su Ming say that he was a good person, he held his hands to his chest, his face flushed, and he felt terrible. Su Ming's eyes twitched and he had a bad feeling in his heart. The next second, Hancock grabbed Su Ming's hand before Su Ming could react and looked at him with watery eyes. No, darling, I won't let you degrade yourself like that. In my heart, you are the best. In this world, the one who can be with me is you, and only you. Darling, what you just said proves that I was not wrong about you. My vision is not wrong. Darling, as long as you want, I am willing to do anything for you. Hancock bit his lower lip lightly, looking ready to be picked. Su Ming covered his face. This love brain is hopeless. There is absolutely no communication. Su Ming had no choice but to find a way to explain things to Hancock later. Come on, get on board. According to Hancock, 7 warlords of the sea has successfully invited 4 people. There are 3 people left, and my mission is successfully completed. Looking at the 3 bounties in front of him, Jorakel Mahawk, Bartholomew Bear, and Jinbe. Looking at the 3 rewards, Su Ming couldn't help but feel a headache. Doflamingo stood behind Su Ming. Now he has fully played the role of Su Ming's subordinate. Seeing that Su Ming seemed a little upset, Doflamingo hurried forward. Boss, is there something wrong with these 3 people? Su Ming took a deep breath and leaned back in his chair. Any questions? This is a big problem. None of these 3 people's personalities allow them to be happy and idle. Hawkeye is a sword fanatic, because knowing myself, when I see myself I will definitely fight with myself. If you agree, you will join immediately. If you lose, there is no need to join. To be honest, facing this kind of guy, Su Ming feels that he is not as good as Hancock. Advertisement at least Hancock can stay on the island for a few days and fish in peace. Hawkeye is a man of swift and decisive actions, and Su Ming is too lazy to go there if there is no benefit at all. Speaking of Bartholomew Kuma, this guy is a member of the Revolutionary Army. Knowing that he could gain access to the world government to obtain intelligence, he wished his head could be sharpened, and there was no way he would delay time because of his own instigation. To be honest, Su Ming felt that Dashang had been very restrained as he had not taken the initiative to look for him until now. As for Jinbe, this guy's chances are not great either. Su Ming crumpled up the 3 bounties in front of him and threw them into the trash can beside him, saying nothing more. Let's go find that Hawkeye guy. Although Doflamingo didn't know what Su Ming was worried about, he still did as Su Ming asked. Things developed just as Su Ming expected. When Hawkeye, the sword fanatic, saw him, he put forward his conditions without any hesitation. Fight with swordsmanship, and if you win, you can join. Su Ming nodded in agreement. Su Ming, who was already in a bad mood, immediately used all his strength. A slash of swordsmanship cut through the air and reduced Hawkeye's small castle to ruins. By the way, he also shaved the heads of a group of baboons that were watching the fun on the island. The baboons watching in the dense forest were frightened and scattered like birds and beasts. At the same time, the terrifying sword also left a huge psychological trauma on this group of baboons. Hawkeye successfully boarded the ship. Su Ming, sooner or later, I will become stronger and defeat you. After saying that, Hawkeye walked onto the warship coolly. Su Ming looked at Hawkeye's back, stunned for a moment, and then reacted all of a sudden. That's not right. Shouldn't crew member Lu Zoro have said these words to his nephew after he went out to sea? It seems that I have become Hawkeye's life target without realizing it. Su Ming shook his head speechlessly. I have to say that Hawkeye is a kendo genius. Even without any cheating, he had reached the level of a great swordsman in his 20s. And Su Ming noticed that Hawkeye had also forged his own black knight. This guy is only one step away from becoming the supreme swordsman. But this is only in swordsmanship. If we take hockey or fruit abilities into account, there is no comparison between the two. The most important thing is that Su Ming now has gone through this competition with Hawkeye. His swordsmanship has already approached that of the supreme swordsman. Chapter 137 Passive Rebellion? Successfully recruited Hawkeye, and the second target is Bartholomew Kuma. Known as Tyrant Bear, Su Ming didn't have much expectations for this guy. However, the moment we arrived at the island where the bear was and saw the bear, Su Ming still had to admit it. The flag I set before was a bit abrupt. All I saw was a red banner at the island port. There's a line of big words written on it. Warmly welcome Chief Su Ming to inspect our work. Fortunately, Guon and Hancock stood behind him and helped him up, otherwise Su Ming would have almost fallen down. Before Su Ming could react and take down the banner, Tyrant Bear had already come to Su Ming holding a bouquet of flowers. Captain Su Ming, I'm sorry I'm late. The island has already prepared a welcome ceremony for you. Su Ming gritted his teeth, suppressed his anger, looked at the Tyrant Bear, and blinked. Can you explain to me why there is a banner here? Also, what does this flower mean? The bear was stunned for a moment and smiled foolishly. He used the ball of his palm to pop out a protective shield to separate everyone from Su Ming, then leaned over and whispered in Su Ming's ear. Sir, a single spark can start a prairie fire. People all over the world who yearn for freedom should unite. Su Ming had a strange expression on his face when he heard what he had said to Dorag. Hey, sir, Long has already told us that it was your words that inspired him. You've been undercover in the world government for these years, and you also have to bear the infamy of celestial dragons. It's really hard work. It is because of your help that our revolutionary army has been able to develop so smoothly over the years. You are now one of the highest leaders of the revolutionary army. I am a cadre of the revolutionary army. Of course I welcome you to come over. Su Ming looked through Shang's sunglasses and actually saw the admiration in his eyes. It feels like I have met a fan. Wait a minute, something is wrong. When did I become one of the top leaders of the revolutionary army? It was fine for me to provide some arms to the revolutionary army, but Dragon also spent money, not to mention that I made money on both ends every time. Logically speaking, it would be good enough if the revolutionary army didn't call him a profiteer, so how come he became the supreme leader? Are you so casual in making appointments in the revolutionary army that you don't even notify the person concerned? Su Ming couldn't sit still anymore as he felt something was not right the more he listened. He stepped out of the protective shield, looked at the bear, and then looked at Dover and Guon and the others behind him. You all wait here, I'll be back soon. Advertisement. I must get things clear with Dragon about the revolutionary army. Ignoring everything else, Su Ming stepped on moonwalk and disappeared from everyone's sight in 2 or 3 steps. Hancock pressed his lips together and looked at the big bear holding the flowers, with a hint of vigilance in his eyes. Damn it, Darling is really too good. Not only are there women who are interested in him, but there are also men who want to get involved. Luckily Darling doesn't like this. HMPH, let's put aside the matter of this female marine commander for now. We must first be wary of this weirdo holding flowers. Su Ming didn't know what Hancock was thinking. If you knew what she was thinking, you would probably exclaim in admiration and then kick her off the boat. What the hell is going on? Away from everyone's sight, Su Ming found a secluded place and smiled. The first thing he did was to take out a Den Den Mushi. Hey, Dorag, you better give me a reasonable explanation. On the other end of the phone, Long, who had just picked up the Den Den Mushi, was stunned for a moment. Comrade Su Ming, what's the matter? Why are you so angry? We are all brought together by the revolution. Don't be so angry. If you have anything to say, talk slowly. Su Ming. Listening to the clear and melodious voice of Dragon in Den Den Mushi, Su Ming suddenly felt that he seemed to have made a wrong decision. After not seeing him for 2 years, Su Ming felt that the guy's style had probably changed just by listening to his voice. Su Ming quickly shook his head, threw the strange thoughts out of his head, and got back to the topic. Long, let me ask you, when did I agree to join the revolutionary army? On the other end of the phone, Long was silent for 2 seconds. Who told you this? Su Ming said angrily. Who told me that? Go and see the banner that Bartholomew Big Bear hung on the island. He almost wrote down the supply list of the weapons I provided to you on it. Su Ming became angrier as he spoke. Damn it, I treat you as a partner, but you actually want me to be your colleague and get me for free, right? Dragon on the other end of the Den Den Mushi remained silent. Su Ming said angrily. Don't be silent, I know you were listening. On the other end of the Den Den Mushi, Dragon sighed softly. Hey, Comrade Su Ming, there may be some misunderstanding about this matter. We in the Revolutionary Army have never had the habit of forcing people to join us. Hearing this, Su Ming breathed a sigh of relief. I told you, the people below must have misunderstood. Dorag is quite reliable, but then, Dorag's next sentence completely broke Su Ming's defense. Advertisement, but Sir Su Ming, you are the founder of the Revolutionary Army. Isn't it normal for you to be in the Revolutionary Army? Su Ming. Slander, he slandered me. When did you create the Revolutionary Army? How come no one informed me of such a huge family business? Then I heard Dorager say again, Sir Su Ming, when I was in Windmill Village, I was the most confused. I am disappointed with the world government and feel powerless against the Marine. I saw so many civilians living in dire straits, but I didn't know how to save them. Until you said that to me. A single spark can start a prairie fire. People with free will should unite. I have not dared to bow down these years, and have always said this sentence as the ideal and slogan of the Revolutionary Army. You are the true core of the Revolutionary Army. You came as soon as possible for peace and risked your life to provide us with weapons. I am willing to bear the infamy and take on the title of Celestial Dragons. Even the bright future of Marine was given up. I know that with your ability you could have been promoted to Admiral long ago, but in order to avoid being noticed, you just became a small commander-in-chief of the logistics department. Compared with you, I really have no face to take credit for it. I'm just doing my best to help as a custodian, Dorag said excitedly. Su Ming looked confused. How did you come to these conclusions? Su Ming was really curious. No matter how eccentric Dorag's train of thought is, it shouldn't be this far, right? I only heard Dragon on the other end of the Den Mushi say, it's some tabloid newspapers on the black market. Although their news is not widely released, its authenticity is still very high. Through these clues, we can truly understand your good intentions, Mr. Su Ming. Su Ming. Can I say that the black market is actually opened by me? Most likely, these news stories are just made up by newspapers that took their own money. I just want to change the views of ordinary people or some pirates on me so that I can do better in business. I really didn't expect to catch such a big fish. Is this considered a passive rebellion and revolution? If this situation is reported to the world government, will the 5 elders believe that they are innocent? Urgent, waiting online. Chapter 138 The Supreme Swordsman. He learned that he had been nominated by this guy Dragon to become the supreme leader of the Revolutionary Army. Su Ming found it a little hard to accept for a moment. Brother, I am now Celestial Dragons, a real beneficiary of the world government. Now you give me the identity of a Revolutionary Army leader. It's okay for you to do some small things now, but what should I do if you really hit Marijoy later? I hit myself? Or should I play the rebellious Celestial Dragons and find someone to stab me in the back? Su Ming quickly shook his head and threw away these strange thoughts. What a joke. I won't go to hell, whoever wants to go can go. But Su Ming stroked his chin, changed his mind, and suddenly he understood something. That's not right. All your eggs should not be put in one basket. The world government is so unreliable, what if it really collapses one day? I have a family to support, and I can't end up with the world government. Thinking of this, slowly, a smile appeared on Su Ming's lips. Anyway, I have so many identities now, so adding a Revolutionary Army leader is not a bad thing. Long, I already know about this matter. I can't lead the Revolutionary Army now, but I will do my best to pass on useful information to you. Remember, my existence is the top secret of the Revolutionary Army. Except for trusted senior officials, no one else can know about this. I have also trained a few people in the world government. When the revolution is victorious, I will introduce them to you one by one. On the other end of the Den Mushi, Long looked overjoyed. Sure enough, I knew that even if Comrade Su Ming was in the world government, he would never go along with those celestial dragons. Su Ming touched his nose awkwardly and smiled. Thank you for the compliment. He indeed did not go along with the celestial dragons, but just treated these celestial dragons as leeks and harvested them wave after wave. In the past, Su Ming thought that he was just a businessman. If his means of harvesting were a little ruthless, the worst that could happen would be that he was a profiteer. But today, after a phone call with Long, Su Ming's outlook suddenly changed. How can I be called a profiteer? The new era has not yet arrived, and I am just using my limited strength to prepare for the new era. With such a reason to support him, Su Ming felt that he had become more noble and radiated greatness from the inside out. Damn it, no, I have to double the price of the drinks I sell to celestial dragons when I get back, and also launch more limited editions. I am not doing this to make money, but for the revolution. Advertisement. After hanging up the phone, Su Ming gave Long a few more instructions. Tell other Revolutionary Army cadres to keep a low profile when seeing him. If everyone is like Tyrant Bear, and the world government can't find the Revolutionary Army and sets its target on itself, it will be really troublesome. After returning to the island, Tyrant Bear and the people led by Su Ming were still a little at a loss. Su Ming appeared in the middle. Alright, it's alright, Bartholomew Big Bear, right? Now I formally invite you to become one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Are you willing to accept it? Shang didn't hesitate at all. I'm willing to join. Behind him, Boa Hancock kept gritting his teeth and staring at the Tyrant Bear fiercely. It's over. Now not only do I have to leave the women around Darling, I have to be careful with the men too. Boa Hancock's brain, whose IQ plummeted when it came to love, started to work. Finally, his eyes fell on Guon. Hancock's big eyes rolled around, and after hesitating for 2 seconds, he walked to the side of Guon. Hey, let's work together. Guon was stunned and looked back at Hancock, confused. Cooperate? Hancock nodded seriously. The big bear looks at Darling in a wrong way. I think we can work together and be wary of this guy first. Guon looked at Hancock, then at Big Bear, and his mind was confused for a moment. After a while, Guon looked at Hancock and asked, "Are you serious?" Hancock nodded. My instinct is definitely right. This bear has bad intentions towards Darling. The way he looks at Darling is not right. Guon sighed and looked at Hancock, and suddenly there was no hostility in his eyes. She's a nice girl, but her brain isn't very good. As if he saw the meaning in Guion's eyes, Hancock stomped his feet in anger. I'm not lying. The way this big bear looks at Su Ming is definitely not right. This expression of worship and admiration is something I am very familiar with. After hearing what Hancock said, Guon finally took it seriously. Not far away, Dashang followed Su Ming, consciously slowing down his pace by half a step and looking respectful. His words and actions are full of respect. Guon was actually a little unsure of what to call for a moment. Shouldn't it? Of course not. Let me make it clear first, I can accept Darling having women around him, but not men. In this world, except for Darling, all other men are dirty creatures. Hancock said seriously. Advertisement. The two women were whispering in the back, but Su Ming didn't pay attention. If she knew, Su Ming would definitely sigh that women in love are really observant. It's just that the direction of judgment is a little wrong. After successfully inviting Bartholomew Dashang to join Shichibukai, Su Ming was not in a hurry to invite the last Shichibukai. Instead, they stopped for a short time on Bartholomew the Bear's Island. With this invitation, Su Ming made another fortune from the Revolutionary Army. This just solves the cost of Zephyr building a new force. Meanwhile, Su Ming asks Doflamingo to investigate Jinbe's whereabouts. Different from several other Shichibukai. As the new captain of the mermaid pirates ship after Tiger's death, Jinbe is not in a fixed place. The mermaid pirates roam around everywhere, sometimes even under the sea, so if you want to find them, you must first know where they are. Sengoku also expressed his understanding of this. Time flies and another month has passed. In addition to practicing hockey every day, Su Ming also practices swordsmanship. Finally, at the end of this month, on the small island, Su Ming held the thunder gift in his hand with his eyes closed. In front of him was the endless sea. At this moment, I seem to have merged into one with the world. Suddenly, a breeze blew by. Su Ming suddenly opened his eyes. Click. All that was heard was the sound of a long sword being sheathed. This voice seemed so abrupt at this moment. After all, from an outsider's perspective, Su Ming didn't make any moves at all. However, after this sound, Su Ming no longer stood there, but turned around and prepared to leave with the thunder gift. Just as Su Ming turned around, cracks began to appear on the sea surface. The seawater is like a piece of skin tissue, cut into small pieces. Looking closely, it is not seawater. Instead, the space is divided into small pieces. Where the space was torn apart, flashes of swordlight appeared. On the other side of the island, Hawkeye, who was also honing his sword skills, suddenly looked up in the direction of Su Ming, and the movements of his hands unconsciously stopped. This guy has already crossed that realm, above the great swordsman. Should he be called the Supreme Swordsman? Chapter 139. Su Ming. I want to eat fish. At this moment, Su Ming's swordsmanship, which had been stuck at a bottleneck, finally took a step forward. The Supreme Swordsman. It should be equipped with a supreme sword. Su Ming held the handle of the Lei sea knife and looked at it. The blade of the lychee sword has completely turned purple-black under the continuous immersion of Su Ming's advanced armament color. At the same time, in recent years, Su Ming would use the power of his fruit to attract heavenly thunder whenever he had time to remove impurities from the blade. The power of thunder and lightning granted by lychee has become more pure, and its power is far beyond that of an ordinary big sword. Only one step away, and it can be completely transformed into the supreme sword. Brother, you have to hurry up. I am now a supreme swordsman. If you still stick to the fast sword, you have to find a new lover. Su Ming touched his chin and spoke like a scumbag. Buzz. The thunder in his hand made a buzzing sound, as if expressing dissatisfaction with Su Ming's ruthlessness. Su Ming laughed and put the lacy into the scabbard. Su Ming was in a good mood after his swordsmanship breakthrough. Just then, not far away, Doflamingo's figure slowly walked over. Boss. Well, have you found Jinbe's location? Doflamingo nodded. Found it. Jinbe is now on the Fishman Island. The news was sent back by our bar spy on the Fishman Island. But I heard that Whitebeard's ship is near the Fishman Island recently. After all, Jinbe is the current captain of the Sun Pirates, and the Fishman Island is under the management of Whitebeard. Su Ming's invitation to Jinbe to join 7 warlords of the sea may seem like poaching. The boss has offended Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. It is not a wise choice to provoke Whitebeard again. Su Ming smiled slightly when he heard this. He understood what Doflamingo meant, but he didn't care at all. Dover, you see things too one-sidedly. Am I going there to represent myself this time? First represent the Marine. What's wrong with offending people? Even if I offended someone, it was because of Marine. How can Marine ignore me? I must take Jinbe with me, no matter what Whitebeard thinks. My boss is Sengoku, do you understand, Marshal? Advertisement. Whitebeard needs to see him. Not far away, Guon came over at some point and happened to hear Su Ming's words, and was speechless. Now I know why Marshal Sengoku's hair has been falling out so much recently. Guon rolled his eyes and complained. You, Vice Admiral Garp, and Marshal Sengoku are probably the most difficult generation of marine marshals in history. Looking at Su Ming, who sold out his teammates at the slightest disagreement, Guon was actually a little worried about Sengoku's career. Su Ming touched his nose when he heard what Guon said. That's not necessarily true. Somehow Su Ming suddenly thought of Akainu, the next marine marshal after Sengoku's retirement. It is indeed difficult for Sengoku to have Garp as his teammate. But compared with Marshal Akainu in the future, Sengoku was still lucky. After all, as long as Luffy is not involved, Marine is still one of us. But as soon as Luffy went out to sea and Akainu took office as the Marshal, the Marine high-ranking officials defected like jumping rubber ropes, happily and frequently. Marshal Akainu eating New Year's Eve dinner alone at Marine is not just a joke, but something that is actually possible. Shaking off the random thoughts in his mind, Su Ming turned to look at Doflamingo. Get ready. Tomorrow, we're going to the Fishman Island. One of the most mysterious islands on the Great Voyage, the Fishman Island. This is Su Ming's second time on the island. However, unlike the first time, this time, the situation on the Fishman Island was not as chaotic as last time when they saw Su Ming. It seemed that they had become accustomed to the presence of humans on the island. Boss, our night bar has been opened here. The bar is still run by humans, but some of the waiters are hired mermaids. Brother Ming explained for Su Ming. Su Ming nodded after hearing this and understood the reason. I'm used to seeing this kind of feelings. Let's go. Where is Jinbe? Let's go together. It's at the night bar, with two beauties, Guon and Hancock. Together with 5-7 warlords of the sea with unique temperaments and weird costumes, Su Ming attracted a lot of attention when he walked on the street. Soon, they arrived at the only night bar on the Fishman Island. Su Ming didn't hesitate, pushed open the door and walked straight in. Facing Jinbe's big reaction, Su Ming's eyes twitched slightly. Su Ming pointed to the bar manager behind Jinbe. Advertisement from time to time, bursts of heroic laughter unique to fishmen could be heard in the bar. Having just made a conclusion about humans in his mind, Jinbe doesn't want to deal with them yet. I want to eat fish. I'm saying this one last time. Please leave here immediately. This is not a place where you should be. Human, this is not the place for you. Leave now. I can pretend I didn't see anything. Su Ming glanced at the letter that fell on the ground. However, facing the Shinjan letter thrown by Su Ming, Jinbe did not reach out to catch it and let the letter fall to the ground. Jinbe looked at the drink in the glass. I say, even if it's a human, you don't have to make such a fuss. Also, let me introduce myself. I'm Su Ming, a marine from our headquarters. Jinbe looked at Su Ming, narrowed his eyes, and said seriously, I don't trust you, and I won't join the 7 warlords of the sea. After thinking for a while, Jinbe shook his head and drank the wine in the glass. Since he had already invited several 7 warlords of the sea, he was too lazy to explain the rules and simply threw a piece of paper to Jinbe. In front of the bar counter, a blue fishman with a rather large build, a fringe-style hairstyle, a lightning-like scar on the corner of his left eye, wearing a yukata and wooden clogs, was drinking. Or is this just wishful thinking on the part of some people on the Fishman Island? It is true that they can coexist peacefully, as Princess Otohime said. Jinbe also realized that he had just lost his composure and coughed lightly. Humans are so complicated. Jinbe has been thinking about it ever since Captain Tiger of the Sun Pirates was betrayed and killed by the family of the little girl he rescued. Can you buy me a drink too? It's okay, don't worry, I don't really like shark fin. I came here for no other reason than to find you. I wonder if you have a double standard. He is also a human being. Humans. Jinbe was thinking when suddenly a hand was placed on his shoulder. Hey, you're drinking alone. What is the relationship between mermaids and humans? He took a deep breath and turned to look at the 7 warlords of the sea who came with him. 7 warlords of the sea, please find out. Jinbe thought it was the fishman he knew and was about to order another glass of wine, but then he turned around and saw. Humans are indeed untrustworthy and fickle. The fishman seemed to be worried and kept frowning. Chapter 140 Princess Otohime. At the bar, Jinbe still didn't understand what Su Ming meant. Doflamingo walked forward with a strange smile and pulled his hand out of his pocket. I'm sorry, Jinbe, who told you to? Doflamingo had just said half of his words when a figure suddenly passed by him at such a speed that he didn't even have time to react. Bump. With a loud bang, Jinbe, who was sitting at the bar the last second, was grabbed by the hair and thrown out of the bar. Some of the plump bodies crashed into the building and were buried by the rubble and bricks. Hancock clapped his hands and gave Doflamingo a disdainful look. Why waste your time talking to this fat fishman? Perfume femur. Without the slightest hesitation, even on Mermaid Island, even on the territory of New World 4 Emperor's Whitebeard, Hancock acted without hesitation. The long white legs wrapped around Hawkeye and slammed down towards the ruins where Jinbe was buried. Doflamingo pulled his hand out of his pocket and let it hang in the air, with a confused expression on his face. No, isn't this supposed to be my job? You did it, what should I do? Besides, even if you want to teach Jinbe a lesson, you don't have to be so harsh. After all, it's someone else's territory. But then, Doflamingo inadvertently discovered that his boss Su Ming was actually looking at him with raised eyebrows. Doflamingo suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. It's bad. The boss must be unhappy with me because of Hancock's performance. That's absolutely not possible. Doflamingo felt a great threat. This Hancock won't replace me in the night bar, right? This won't do. The reason why I can live such a comfortable life in New World is all thanks to my identity as the manager of the night bar. In the New World, with this identity, even the 4 emperors have to give him some face. What's more, the boss had said before that if he performed well, he could help him find a way to restore his identity as celestial dragons. At the moment, I am already behind in teaching Jinbe a lesson. In that case, then work harder. Doflamingo's eyes flashed with determination. If you want to offend Whitebeard, then so be it. God kills. Hancock frowned as he looked at Doflamingo. Advertisement. This blind fellow, didn't he see that I was showing off in front of Darling? Hancock glared, he couldn't let himself be outdone by this Doflamingo. He turned to look at Jinbe who was still struggling to catch his breath in the ruins. Big perfume femur. Doflamingo gritted his teeth. Holy bullet, divine slaying. Gecko Moria, Hawkeye, and Crocodile looked at Jinbe who was being attacked by the 2 men. A layer of cold sweat broke out on my back involuntarily. If I had not known the current situation and rejected the invitation, would I have also enjoyed the same treatment? Gecko Moria looked at Jinbe in the ruins, who was constantly attacked by the Empress and Mingo's trump cards, and suddenly felt that he was actually quite lucky. The punishment for pretending to be cool was just to serve Su Ming's shadow for 2 months. After using Jinbe's set, it will definitely take more than 2 months to recover in bed. Crocodile turned his head silently and snorted with a stern tone. But he also retreated to the side without leaving a trace. Hancock and Doflamingo are obviously in trouble, and it will be bad if they are affected. Su Ming stood aside with his arms folded, watching the show. Oh, I can't bear to see it. I can't bear to see it. The pirates' gunfight was so brutal. Guon gave Su Ming a speechless look. It's not like you want to eat fish. On the Mermaid Island, the crew members of the Sun Pirates saw Jinbe being attacked and immediately wanted to help. Gecko Moria, Hawkeye, Big Bear and others were no longer idle and took action immediately. In the ruins, Jinbe struggled to fend off the Empress and Doflamingo. Jinbe was really stubborn. He didn't say a word even after being greeted by Hancock and Doflamingo in turn. Even Su Ming couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Just when Jinbe was about to give up, the noisy crowd in the outer circle suddenly quieted down. It's Princess Otohime. Princess Otohime is here. Of course there is a reason why I have to torment Jinbe like this. Haki also already has top-notch practice methods. Memories of her kept flashing through my mind. Advertisement. Su Ming's pupils shrank, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he looked at the woman in front of him again. I know what you're worried about, but even if we have the same observation Haki, we can't sense each other. If the general is willing, I do have some new ideas about Haki, which may be of some inspiration to the general. More importantly, he could use Whitebeard to slack off for a while. Although Otohime is not very strong, she has a special talent, the ability to observe. Speaking of the pirates' world, if we only talk about observation Haki, Princess Otohime can definitely be ranked in the top 3. The crowd quickly made way for a path. A strong opponent is urgently needed as a test subject. General, please give me and the Fishman Island a chance. Jinbe is an important member of the Fishman Island. I hope the general can forgive his offense. Otohime bowed her head and saluted. This is an even rarer ability than Conquerors. But Su Ming didn't intend to stop just like that. However, at this moment, Yi Ji, who had bowed her head, suddenly raised her head, looked at Su Ming and smiled. Her attitude was so respectful that even Su Ming couldn't find any fault with it. However, this is not good news for me. She can use this rare ability to read other people's minds. Otohime said calmly. General, you are too kind. In fact, you have this talent. This will help you improve your Haki faster. Su Ming suddenly remembered. If the general doesn't mind, you can stay in the palace for a few days. I wonder if. I have a lot of secrets in my heart. I saw a mermaid with blonde hair, big eyes and beautiful appearance walking towards me with a smile. Whitebeard is a good choice. You just haven't awakened yet. I can sense it vaguely. Princess Otohime, humans are committing crimes on the Fishman Island. The weak fishmen who were blocked outside seemed to have found their backbone and spoke one after another. General Su Ming, you have a great talent for observation. If you are willing to stop, I can help you awaken this power. Su Ming raised his eyebrows, turned his head and looked at this so-called princess. Princess Otohime's observation Haki is very special. Su Ming said meaningfully. General Su Ming, I just received the news and rushed over to greet you. I'm sorry. At present, his swordsmanship has reached the level of a supreme swordsman. Chapter 141 Are you not Sao the thief? Looking at the mermaid princess in front of him, Su Ming raised his eyebrows and smiled with interest. With my current strength, it shouldn't be a problem to directly destroy the Fishman Island. Even if Poseidon is there, I can definitely kill her before she activates. Su Ming thought to himself while looking at Princess Otohime. Seeing that the other party's expression did not change, Su Ming's expression eased a little. It seems that Princess Otohime did not lie to me. The other party should really not have lied to me. She couldn't read her own thoughts, at least not all of them. Otherwise, no matter how well she hid what she had just thought, she would still be somewhat nervous. It seems that Princess Otohime did not lie. You saved the lives of the entire the Fishman Island. Su Ming said half-jokingly. Princess Yiji didn't react at first, but suddenly, as if she thought of something, her eyes widened, she staggered back 2 steps, and looked at Su Ming in horror. Su Ming gave him a meaningful smile. Just now, this man must have been thinking something terrible in his mind. If he knew, the Fishman Island would become the second Ohara. Cold sweat instantly wet Yiji's back, but she still pretended to be calm and bowed to Su Ming again. I have also heard of General Su Ming's deeds. I dare not deceive the general. Your perception is indeed different from that of ordinary people. Even I cannot see through your heart. Su Ming smiled and waved his hands, returning to his sunny and cheerful appearance. It's okay, it's okay. Everything that just happened seemed to have never happened. Princess Otohime raised her head, with a look of embarrassment in her eyes. General Su Ming, can you please ask those 2 gentlemen to stop first? It seems that Captain Jinbe is in danger. Hancock and Dover have not stopped since Su Ming and Yiji started chatting. The key is that the dispute between the two is getting worse and worse. Doflamingo is now risking his life, and even his killing moves like 16 holy bullets, divine kill are considered as normal attacks. Doflamingo's eye sockets were sunken, and he looked exhausted and about to faint at any time. Similarly, Hancock was not in a much better condition. His eyes were bloodshot, and his long legs had already kicked out afterimages, but he showed no intention of stopping. Su Ming couldn't help but gasp when he saw this scene. Fortunately, these 2 people don't know how to use Conqueror's Haki, otherwise Jinbe would definitely be dead. Damn it, Dover, Hancock, stop it, or the fish will die. After hearing Su Ming's words, the 2 stopped. Advertisement. Doflamingo came to Su Ming panting. General Su Ming, this guy is ignorant. I will teach him a lesson for you. Don't worry, keep your hands. This guy won't die. Su Ming's eyes twitched. He was not worried about whether Jinbe lived or died. The main thing was that if Dover and Hancock continued to fight like this, he might die before Jinbe. Su Ming quickly patted Dover on the shoulder. No need, I've taught you a lesson enough. You are the most loyal in the entire shichibukai. Just as he finished speaking, Su Ming felt a resentful gaze looking at him from the side. Hancock was seen pouting, his cheeks puffed up like a goldfish. The word, grievance, was almost written on his face. Su Ming reluctantly walked to Hancock again and rubbed the girl's head. Thank you for your hard work. You have done a good job. After Su Ming patted him on the head, the grievance on Hancock's face disappeared instantly. The beautiful big eyes began to emit pink hearts again. Darling. Su Ming covered his head, knowing the answer without even thinking about it. In Hancock's eyes, I have now automatically turned on level 10 beauty filters. Seeing that Hancock was about to collapse into his arms, Su Ming hurriedly stopped him and gave Guon a look. What are you looking at? Help me. Guon covered his mouth and chuckled. After pulling for a while, they finally pulled Hancock apart. Huh, Su Ming let out a long breath. Girls who are obsessed with love are really scary. Princess Otohime had been watching from the side the whole time. After observing for a while, Yiji found that Su Ming was not as scary as she had imagined. As long as you don't touch the other party's reverse scale, you can be relatively kind. In this way, perhaps with the help of this man, the mermaid's wish to live freely on land can really be realized. Seeing Su Ming coming to her side again, Yiji smiled slightly and said half-jokingly, General Su Ming is really popular among girls. You're right, that should be the pirate's queen, Boa Hancock, who has been very popular in the Grand Line in recent years. As she spoke, Princess Otohime's beautiful eyes turned and she teased, General Su Ming, the most beautiful woman in the world, is being pushed away. Is she not interested? Advertisement. Su Ming raised his eyebrows. Haha, compared to Hancock, I am more interested in you, the mermaid princess. Yiji was stunned for a moment, her eyes widened, and she looked at Su Ming in disbelief, her face suddenly turning red. No, General Su Ming, I already have a husband and am the mother of 4 children, how can I be worthy of you? Yiji waved her hands in panic while secretly looking at Su Ming. I didn't notice it before, but now looking at it again, I have to say, Su Ming is indeed very handsome. Su Ming, who is in his 20s, is 2.7 meters tall, with delicate features and a well-proportioned figure. He can be said to be the ideal type for all women. In addition to his status, he could just grab any woman on the street and ask her to marry him. The success rate is higher than 80%. Who would have thought that such a high-quality human male would be interested in his mermaid wife? Otohime's face became redder and redder. Just when she was thinking about whether she should sacrifice herself for the future of her tribe. Su Ming on the side couldn't help it. I say, Princess Otohime, did you misunderstand something? I mean I'm interested in your observation Haki. You blush like a bubble teapot. Damn, I am not a thief. Hearing Su Ming's words, Princess Otohime's face turned even redder. But at the same time, he also knew that he had been thinking in the wrong direction. He coughed twice awkwardly and apologized, I'm really sorry, General Su Ming, this is not the place to talk. If it's convenient, I wonder if you could come with me to the palace. The awakening of the rare observation Haki will not be completed in a short time. Su Ming smiled slightly and looked at Yiji. Obviously, in addition to her observation Haki, this Otohime had other things to say to her. But Su Ming didn't care, or perhaps this suggestion just suited his wishes. I'm not staying here just for the sake of sightseeing. The value of Mermaid Island is more than that. You know, this is a place where even the world government rarely gets involved. There is much more room for maneuver in this place. Chapter 142 Negotiation Skills. Inside the main hall of the Mermaid Royal Palace, graceful and pretty mermaid women carried meals to the long table. Princess Yi sat alone in the main seat, while Su Ming sat with his hands hanging down. This is the highest standard of seating for guests, and it demonstrates Su Ming's status to a certain extent. When the food and wine were served, Otohime picked up her glass and stood up. It is a great honor for Mermaid Island that General Su Ming and all the heroes of the sea can come to our Mermaid Island today. I have specially set up a banquet for you. I hope you will not despise it. Princess Otohime said this and drank the wine in the cup in one gulp. Su Ming smiled and stood up. Then came Guon, Hancock, Dover and others. The banquet was a great pleasure for both the host and the guests. After the banquet, Otohime ordered people to send Hancock and others back to their rooms. Su Ming sat in the house, looking at the night view outside the window of the Fishman Island. It's really interesting to say. It was clearly 10,000 meters under the sea. But with the help of the Sun Tree Eve, people can actually distinguish between day and night here. There are even clouds in the sky, paired with the blue sea outside. The Fishman Island can be said to have good weather every day. If it were in the previous life, such a place would definitely become a tourist attraction. Su Ming was stunned for a moment. Yes, how could I have forgotten about this matter? The Fishman Island, this is definitely another money-making project. However, if we want to develop the Fishman Island into a tourist destination, there are still two problems that need to be solved. One is transportation. It is too troublesome to travel to the Fishman Island by boat alone. This greatly affects your efficiency in making money. The second is the issue of racial conflict between mermaids and humans. Both sides regard the other as a monster, and if they really come into close contact, something bad could easily happen. Su Ming held the red wine, frowned and rubbed his chin. Suddenly, bang, bang, bang. General Su Ming, can I come in and talk? Princess Otohime's voice came from outside the door. Su Ming was stunned for a second, then quickly reacted and said with a smile, come in. The door opened and Yi was still wearing formal clothes. When she saw Su Ming, she bowed respectfully. Advertisement. I apologize for interrupting you, General. Otohime's movements were very graceful, and her temperament was in no way inferior to those of the nobles and princes on land. Yi looked at Su Ming carefully, secretly cheering herself up. This person in front of me may be the key to the mermaids getting on land. I must take the initiative in this negotiation and make this big shot agree. After learning that Jinbe was selected as one of the candidates for the 7 warlords of the sea, Yi has been waiting for Su Ming to arrive. This man is both marine and celestial dragons, and also helped Tiger leave Mariajoy. Perhaps it is the key step towards realizing your lifelong dream. You must take it seriously. As a member of the royal family and possessing the observation haki that allows her to see into other people's hearts, Otohime believes that her negotiation skills are still very high. Taking down a marine is no problem. However, Su Ming looked at Yi who came in, and suddenly raised his eyebrows and smiled. If you came here just to say these polite words, you can go back now. Yi was stunned. She didn't expect Su Ming to have this attitude. Logically speaking, shouldn't the two of them exchange pleasantries first, and then find an opportunity to get down to business and discuss cooperation? Why doesn't Su Ming play by the rules? Then Su Ming continued, Princess Yi, I think we should skip those tedious procedures. I don't like them. I like to be straightforward. Although I came to the palace to learn observation haki, I don't trust such a top-notch observation haki. Just release Jinbe and leave it to me, Princess Otohime. So, why not make the conditions clear first? Su Ming held up his wine glass and spoke slowly. Looking at Su Ming, Yi was actually a little panicked for a moment. Before Yi could figure out how to answer, Su Ming's words came up again. Su Ming suddenly changed the subject, his tone became unusually serious, and his eyes narrowed slightly. Or is it that Princess Otohime wants to use this observation haki training method to threaten me and get more benefits? Or are you just teasing me? Advanced conquerors spread outward from Su Ming's body. For a moment, Otohime felt as if she was being pressed down by a mountain, unable to move at all. At this moment, in her eyes, Su Ming was so powerful. Otohime had no doubt that if the man in front of her really got angry, the Fishman Island would be destroyed. This also made Yi break out in a cold sweat. She didn't dare to speak carelessly, as her next words might very likely determine the future direction of the Fishman Island. Otohime's brain was working rapidly, and after pondering it over again and again in her mind, she finally determined the correct answer in her mind. No, General Su Ming, please don't misunderstand me. I will definitely tell you how to awaken the special observation haki. We invited the general to the palace because we want to ask for his help on something else. Of course, in return, the Fishman Island will pay the due price. Su Ming held the red wine in his hand and walked around Yi slowly. He asked with interest, then tell me first, what is the price that the Fishman Island is willing to pay? Otohime. Advertisement. Is this guy really marine? Or is he some unscrupulous businessman pretending to be him? Is this negotiation technique too skillful? Don't ask what you want to cooperate on, first ask yourself what price you are willing to pay. Doesn't this leave you no room for bargaining? At this moment, Yi had to admit that her negotiation skills, which she was so proud of, seemed so immature in front of Su Ming. Looking at Yi who had lost her composure, Su Ming showed a barely perceptible smile. When it comes to negotiation skills, I am definitely far better than Otohime. I was well aware of this in my previous life. Otherwise, you won't be able to get a senior management position. Just because I like to slack off doesn't mean I'm the only one who can slack off. After Su Ming finished speaking, the rhythm that Princess Otohime had planned in advance was completely disrupted. Su Ming continued to add fuel to the fire, and Conqueror's energy was released bit by bit, constantly increasing the pressure on Yi. Finally, Yi completely collapsed and knelt in front of Su Ming. General Su Ming, please help the Fishman Island. As long as mermaids can live freely on the ground like humans, the Fishman Island is willing to pay any price. Looking at Yi like this, Su Ming finally smiled. At any price, these 4 words are so wonderful. This means that the Fishman Island is like a guinea pig in his own hand. You can experiment with various ideas here. Looking at Princess Otohime kneeling on the ground, Su Ming put away his conquerors and changed his attitude. Hey, Princess Otohime, what are you doing? I didn't say I wouldn't help. Su Ming reached out his hand to help Yi up, then looked at her and said seriously, Princess Yi, in fact, the most critical reason why the conflict between the mermaids and humans has intensified is that they know too little about each other. Have you ever heard of the chain of suspicion? Intelligent life forms have a strong sense of exclusivity towards alien species. Princess Otohime was confused and looked at Su Ming. So what do you mean, General? Su Ming smiled slightly. I think there should be opportunities for merpeople and humans to interact with each other, for example, by showing the Fishman Island to the world. The Mermaid Island has beautiful scenery. If it can be open to the public, it will definitely attract a lot of people. When you get more familiar with it, the fear will naturally disappear. Princess Otohime did not nod immediately, but instead raised her biggest concern. But celestial dragons. Su Ming frowned. What celestial dragons? I'm here, rebelling against them. Which celestial dragon is so blind that he dares to come here and delay my profit? No, he is delaying the peace between the mermaids and humans. I will throw him into the calm belt to feed the sea kings. Chapter 143 Su Ming Style, Persuasion. Princess Otohime stared at Su Ming in a daze, and it took her a while to react. Throw celestial dragons into the calm belt to feed the sea kings. This is too outrageous. Celestial dragons are the world's aristocrats. Even though we know that this person is also a celestial dragon, he joined later after all, so his status should be lower than other celestial dragons. If this guy is so good at looking for trouble now, and if he really provokes the celestial dragons and he can't stand the pressure, then wouldn't the Fishman Island be in danger? As Yi was thinking, a Fishman guard ran towards her in a panic in the corridor. Seeing Otohime, the Fishman guards quickly knelt on the ground, panting, no. It's bad, Princess, the Fishman. The Fishman Island suddenly has a celestial dragon. That guy threatened to capture all the mermaids on the island. There are already many fishmen on the island planning to kill the celestial dragons. The situation is about to get out of control. Princess Otohime's eyes widened, and panic appeared on her face. If the celestial dragons die here, the residents of the Fishman Island will not be able to live on land, and it won't be long before the Fishman Island will face the Buster Call. No, celestial dragons must not die here, and certainly not at the hands of the Murlocs. In just a moment, Otohime made a judgment. Yi looked at the guard and said, you get up first. Now I have to go and try to persuade him. Otohime can only rely on her special observation Hawkeye to see if she can save the celestial dragons. But it's just a try. Whether it will succeed or not, no one can say for sure. After all, the feud between the Murlocs and the celestial dragons is so deep that it is almost impossible to resolve. Su Ming stood aside the whole time and did not interrupt. When he heard the guard say that celestial dragons had come to Mermaid Island, he already knew who they were. Don Quixote Masquerade Street. To be honest, this guy is from the same clan as Doflamingo. Just now, it seemed that Otohime was a little skeptical about her proposal. Now is a good time to prove yourself. Su Ming coughed twice in a pretentious manner. Yi was stunned for a moment, turned around and looked at Su Ming in confusion. General Su Ming, you. Originally, Otohime wanted to use Su Ming to allow the residents of the island to move to the mainland and live freely. But now, the celestial dragons suddenly appeared here and their lives were about to be lost, so naturally there was no need for the two to continue talking. Su Ming is trying to make himself known at this time, but he cannot see the situation clearly. However, due to the other party's identity, Yi didn't dare to say more. Advertisement. But Su Ming said calmly, Princess Yi, this matter is actually very easy to solve. If you feel comfortable, just leave it to me. We can continue what we said before. I can help you with the celestial dragons. Otohime's eyes suddenly lit up. Oh, right, how could I have forgotten about this? The person in front of me is also a celestial dragon. Although he was canonized later, talking to a celestial dragon is definitely more effective than talking to yourself. As long as the celestial dragons on the island can be made to leave, everything will be fine. Yi felt her heart suddenly brighten, as if the clouds had cleared and the moon was shining. Then I'll trouble you, Master Su Ming. As long as you can get the celestial dragons to leave here, our previous agreement can continue, and the resources of Mermaid Island can be deployed at your disposal. Su Ming smiled slightly. Lead the way. Soon, led by the guards, Su Ming and Princess Yi arrived at the central square of the Fishman Island. As Su Ming walked in, he found Guon, Hancock, Dover and others standing in the outer circle. Guon looked a little embarrassed. The appearance of celestial dragons here not only brought trouble to the Fishman Island, but also caused a lot of trouble for themselves. As the elite vice admiral of the headquarters, it is definitely not okay to watch the celestial dragons die here. But if we follow the celestial dragon's orders and deal with these murlocs, it will also lead to a deterioration in the relationship between the murlocs and the world government and the marine. It's a pleasing situation for both sides. As for Hancock, when he saw the celestial dragons, an unusual look of fear appeared on his face. Even though she tried hard to hide it, Su Ming still caught it sharply. Doflamingo looked at the celestial dragons who were shouting and screaming in the field, and there was disgust on his face. Su Ming walked forward and patted Doflamingo on the shoulder. Why, this guy's last name is also Don Quixote, so he's from the same clan as you. Su Ming thought that Dover's expression would change when he heard that they were from the same tribe. But then Dover said, "Tisk, fellow dragons, boss, I don't have any such fellow dragons. If I were really celestial dragons like them, I would feel sick. These guys claim to be world aristocrats, but in reality they are just a bunch of pigs whose brains have degenerated. In comparison, I think you, boss, are the real celestial dragons." Su Ming looked at Brother Ming in surprise. A loud slap sounded in the central square. After that sound, the entire central square fell silent. Hancock watched Su Ming walk over to the celestial dragons, biting his lower lip with a worried look on his face, and opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something. Advertisement. Saint Don Quixote Muscarid was slapped in the face and spun around a dozen times. Bang. Not far away, Princess Otohime saw Su Ming still talking and laughing with Doflamingo, and she couldn't help but feel anxious, so she reminded him in a low voice. Su Ming shook his hands and pulled the white gloves on his hands again. Onlookers, I'll persuade him to leave now. General Su Ming, please stop joking and quickly persuade these celestial dragons to leave. Su Ming clapped his hands and said in annoyance, look at what happened. I was so happy chatting that I forgot about it. I will capture all the mermaids on this island to make up for my losses. Otohime, Sir Su Ming, things are getting out of control over there. Yes, the young man has become more aware. You'd better tell me quickly. The Fishman Island will be grateful. I like this photo of a horse. I'll talk more about it later when I learn how to talk. But it's okay. Don't worry, I'm here. If the Marine really launches a buster call, it will probably be me. I'll let you run for an hour. But before she could say anything, Su Ming had already arrived in front of Saint Don Quixote Muscarid. Su Ming curled his lips in boredom. Okay, really, there's no humor at all. You are amazing, you are noble, and you are making fun of the life of an entire the Fishman Island. However, seeing that Su Ming was finally willing to persuade the celestial dragons, Yi was relieved. Who are you? How dare you stand in front of me? Get out of my way. But I heard that celestial dragons have bad tempers. General Su Ming, please don't do anything out of line again. These are the real celestial dragons. Why don't you get out of the way? I'm going to execute you. I hope that these celestial dragons will leave here because General Su Ming is also a celestial dragon. Otohime. Otohime was speechless. Otohime's pretty face was full of anxiety. I'm in a good mood today. Otohime kept praying in her heart. Looking at the out-of-tune Su Ming, Yi felt like crying. I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and let's talk calmly. Doflamingo screamed in his heart. Chapter 144 Conflict, Red Cop and White Cop. Su Ming slapped Saint Muscarid in the face, but it stunned everyone present. Otohime's eyes widened, she felt dizzy and almost fainted. Fortunately, there was a guard standing behind her to support her, and she finally breathed a sigh of relief. After waking up, Yi looked at Su Ming in front of her and closed her eyes in despair. Done. The Fishman Island is done. Even if Su Ming is also a celestial dragon, the other party can't do anything to Su Ming, but when Su Ming leaves, the celestial dragons will definitely be furious at the Fishman Island. The Fishman Island is bound to face a disaster. At this moment, Otohime felt very regretful. Why can't I get over it and put my hopes on Su Ming? Now, the Fishman didn't get his freedom, but got Buster Call first. At this time, Yi was a little concerned about whether what Su Ming said before about letting the Fishman run an hour earlier was true. Not far away, Hancock covered his mouth and stared with his beautiful big eyes, with a complicated expression in his eyes. Shock, touching and admiration all mixed together. Darling, Hancock, who already had a crush on Su Ming, saw Su Ming attack the celestial dragons without any scruples. My love for Su Ming has reached an unprecedented level. At this moment, Su Ming's image in her mind was infinitely elevated. Darling, this must be for me. Hancock kept thinking to himself. At the same time, the stunned Saint Muscarid finally reacted. Untouchable, how dare you? Su Ming. Saint Muscarid said half of his words, raised his head to see the other person's face clearly, and couldn't say the second half of the sentence no matter what, and finally turned into a scream. Su Ming raised his eyebrows. Oh, you recognize me. Su Ming took 2 steps forward, wanting to take a closer look to see if this celestial dragon had also been taught a lesson by him. As a result, these 2 steps scared the celestial dragons in front of them so much that they sat on the ground and kept moving backwards. No, don't come over here. Saint Muscarid was as scared as a 200-pound child, waving his short hands in front of him. Facing Su Ming, Saint Muscarid closed his eyes and shook his head continuously. It seemed that as long as he saw Su Ming, something terrible would happen. Su Ming is now the nightmare of the Holy Land Mariajoy celestial dragons. The last celestial dragons that was taught a lesson by Su Ming is still lying on the hospital bed with broken bones all over his body. On the other hand, nothing happened to Su Ming. At the beginning, Su Ming took the initiative to call 5 elders. I don't know what he said. After that, 5 elders never even mentioned this matter again. At that time, the celestial dragons was so angry that he directly launched Buster Call. As a result, in front of him, the telephone in Su Ming's arms rang. The person who calls and answers the phone is face to face. The scene was extremely embarrassing. Advertisement. The natural ending is that celestial dragons were beaten even worse. After realizing that Su Ming was a real threat to them and would not be punished, the celestial dragons in the Holy Land became completely obedient. Looking at the cowardly look of Saint Muscaret in front of him, Su Ming rolled his eyes. Open your eyes and look at me. Saint Muscaret hurriedly shook his head. No, I know the rules, and they have spread throughout the circle. If I don't see you, you have no reason to hit me. The onlookers looked at Saint Muscaret like this, and combined with his words, they looked at Su Ming with strange eyes. The corners of Otohime's eyes kept twitching. What on earth did this guy do to celestial dragons? It can make the usually arrogant celestial dragons so scared. Su Ming covered his head speechlessly. Damn it, those 5 elders are willing to spread any rumors in order to keep celestial dragons away from them. Am I that scary? Are you just trying to spend 1 trillion berries to buy the lives of celestial dragons? Besides, even though we didn't reach an agreement in the end, you old guys were also tempted, right? There are quite a few celestial dragons in the Holy Land of Mariajoy. If each one is really worth 1 trillion, it can really be exchanged for a lot of money. But a few people really didn't dare to bring it up. Even they cannot estimate the wealth that Su Ming possesses now. God knows if he really agreed, Su Ming, this unreliable guy, would kill 2 celestial dragons for no reason to add to the fun. After all, this guy can really afford it. Su Ming rolled his eyes speechlessly and turned to give Yiji a wink. Yiji was stunned for a moment, then she understood what Su Ming meant. This requires cooperation with me in playing the good and bad roles. Otohime, who came from a royal family, understood this well. Su Ming looked at the stern face of the Saint Muscaret in front of him and said coldly, you should know what will happen if you provoke me. To be honest, you are a bit unlucky to meet me in such a remote place like the Fishman Island. Last time, that guy was saved by the 5 elders who arrived and saved his life. This time, no one should be able to disturb me. As Su Ming said this, he licked the corner of his mouth excitedly. Hearing that Su Ming wanted to kill him, Saint Muscaret was so scared that he kept backing away. He didn't even bother with the taboos of celestial dragons, and opened his eyes, just in time to meet Su Ming's threatening gaze. The look was like a wild beast staring at its prey. Suddenly a strange smell came out. At the same time, Saint Muscaret felt a damp and warm sensation in his crotch. This guy was actually scared to death. Su Ming was speechless. Brother, I haven't started yet. Advertisement. In the distance, Doflamingo turned silently. It's so damn embarrassing. Is this the celestial dragon I always wanted to be? No, there must be some misunderstanding. Su Ming was worried that if he continued to look at this loser, he would be tempted to kill him, so he didn't want to continue acting. Su Ming pulled his right hand out of his pocket and raised a finger. The jet black armament hockey is attached to the hand. I'm sorry, but you're such an eyesore, so it's better for you to die here. 6 style, finger pistol. Su Ming's voice is like a Shinigami whisper. The air bullet condensed by finger pistol popped out instantly. A dangerous feeling of death swept through Saint Muscaret's body. All the onlookers widened their eyes, held their breath, and their hearts were in their throats. Are celestial dragons going to die like this? At this moment, a figure suddenly rushed out and stood in front of the celestial dragons. Bump. Blood splattered. Otohime groaned in pain. The blood stained her clothes. The sudden change scared everyone again. At this moment, Princess Otohime's husband and her children also arrived here and happened to see the scene before them. Princess Otohime. Mother. Human. How dare you hurt Princess Otohime? Otohime's 3 sons and her husband Neptune rushed over immediately. Su Ming just glanced sideways, and the lightning from his waist came out, and a slash was swung out instantly. A strike like white lightning divided the battlefield. The target is Otohime's youngest daughter, Shirahoshi. How dare you, human! Neptune screamed. However, the next second, a sneaky figure beside Shirahoshi was unable to dodge and both arms were cut off by Su Ming's slash in an instant. Ah! The screams echoed throughout the square. Su Ming picked his ears nonchalantly. Ah! I accidentally cut it off. At the same time, Saint Muscaret, who was protected by Yiji behind him, saw Su Ming draw his knife and saw blood. The courage he had been holding on to was completely broken by fear, and he fainted all of a sudden. Chapter 145, Shirahoshi. Neptune and Otohime's children, as well as the mermaids watching, were too frightened to speak and looked at Su Ming nervously. Neptune thought, with Su Ming's strength, it is impossible for the sword to be cut off. The only explanation is that Su Ming did it on purpose. But why did the other party cut the hand of the person next to Shirahoshi? Is it a threat? No, that's not right. Neptune's eyes flashed, and he winked at his son. The eldest Prince Sharkstar immediately understood what he meant and quietly left the crowd. Take back the Fishman with the broken hand. Su Ming looked at the other party and did not stop the action. He smiled slightly and turned to look at Yiji again. Because of blood loss, Otohime's face turned pale and she stood up with difficulty. Adhering to the principle of doing the whole act, Yiji half knelt in front of Su Ming. General Su Ming, I apologize for the offense caused by this visitor. Please, General, let him go. Su Ming raised his eyebrows. If you say I'll let him go, I'll let him go. You think I'm a horse-releasing man? Otohime immediately understood what he meant and took out a scroll from her sleeve. General, this is the secret method of hockey of the mermaids. Please accept it. Su Ming couldn't help but give Yiji a thumbs up in his heart. Sensible. It is said that it is comfortable to work with smart people. The so-called hockey training method is actually the method of awakening the rare observation hockey, plus some of Otohime's own experience. It can help Su Ming master the ability to listen to his inner voice more quickly. When Princess Otohime took out the scroll, she had a way out, and the celestial dragons who fainted owed her a greater favor. It can be said to kill two birds with one stone. But Neptune and Otohime's sons looked confused. When did my own Fishman learn the secret method of hockey's practice? Su Ming took the scroll and glanced at it casually. The surrounding mermaids also held their breath and stared at Su Ming, not knowing how he would react. Finally, Su Ming closed the scroll. Yes, I am very satisfied with this thing. I am also here to do business on the Fishman Island, so I am also a guest. Since Princess Otohime has said so, I will give you a favor. Take this piece of trash with you. Advertisement. When he wakes up, don't forget to tell him that he has saved his life. Otohime bowed her head and saluted. Yes, thank you for your kindness, General. General, please return to Dragon Palace and rest for a while. I will take care of the things here. Su Ming smiled slightly and glanced at Yiji, and the two of them understood each other tacitly. Father, Mother. The second Prince Wangxing and Flippingxing frowned and shouted, trying to stop Su Ming from leaving. This is the culprit who injured his mother. On the contrary, Neptune had some guesses in his mind after seeing Otohime's attitude just now, and shook his head at his two sons. Don't say anything. Leave this matter to your mother. Wherever Su Ming passed, the crowd automatically made way for him. Guon quietly followed Su Ming, and seeing that there were no people around, he whispered, You did that on purpose just now. Is there anything special about that fish man? Su Ming did not stop, but looked at Guon with a mysterious smile. Nothing special, I just wanted to do an experiment. Of course, the knife I just struck didn't miss the target. In the original work, Princess Shirahoshi was harassed for 10 years because she was touched by Vanderdecken X, who ate the target fruit, when she was a child. In Pirates King, there are many perverts. But this is probably the only pervert who is shameless and disgusting. Even Momonosuke is probably slightly inferior to him. During these 10 years, Shirahoshi probably never left his room, and this generation of Poseidon developed a timid and inferior character. The knife he just struck was aimed at Vanderdecken X. Su Ming wondered if Shirahoshi would still be as timid as in the original novel if there hadn't been this pervert's harassment. Guon didn't understand why. Everyone returned to the palace again. As it was almost time for the dinner, Su Ming and Guon, along with Shichibukai and others, did not return to their respective rooms but stayed in the reception room. Su Ming sat in the chair and shook his wrist. Hancock, whose eyes were full of Su Ming, noticed it immediately and hurried forward. Darling, are you tired? Damn it, it's all because of those damn celestial dragons. They are so fat, but they are so hard. Darling, let me rub it for you. As he spoke, Hancock was about to take action. On the side, Doflamingo and others looked at the crazy Hancock with shame. Good man, you really love your brother Su Ming. The celestial dragon's teeth flew everywhere like popcorn after being slapped by your brother Su Ming, and you didn't see it at all. Even Guon had to admit that Hancock was really crazy about Su Ming and had no regard for his position at all. In other words, Su Ming is her position. Advertisement. Su Ming pulled his hand away awkwardly. This made Hancock puff up his cheeks again, with an aggrieved expression. It was at this time. Ahem. At the door, Princess Otohime and King Neptune had been standing there at some point. General Su Ming, Yiji reminded. Su Ming stood up and looked at Yiji and King Neptune with a smile. Why, it's still early, and the dinner is about to start. Otohime showed an embarrassed expression on her face and lowered her head slightly. General Su Ming, please stop laughing. Neptune and I came here specifically to express our gratitude. Thank you for helping my daughter. We have carefully questioned the fishman whose arm you cut off. He is the captain of the flying pirates. He is also a person who ate the target fruit. If he really touches Shirahoshi today and runs away, the consequences will be disastrous. Speaking of this incident, Neptune also felt a little scared. Outsiders don't know Shirahoshi's situation, but the two of them know it very well. Neptune, with his thick hair and shaggy beard, bowed respectfully to Su Ming. General Su Ming, I apologize for my previous impulsiveness. Yiji has already informed me of the matter. You are different from other humans. As he spoke, Neptune turned his head, waved behind him, and winked at the fish-man soldier who followed him. The young Shirahoshi hid behind Neptune, sticking out half of his head and looking at Su Ming nervously. Otohime looked at Shirahoshi like this and smiled gently. Shirahoshi, don't be afraid, come out quickly, wasn't it you who asked to see General Su Ming? Although Shirahoshi is still young, due to his unique physical development, he is only half a head shorter than Su Ming. Su Ming big brother, Shirahoshi greeted fearfully. Su Ming looked at the timid Shirahoshi and raised his eyebrows, and an idea suddenly came to his mind. Walking forward, Su Ming looked at Shirahoshi and smiled slightly. Are you Shirahoshi? Shirahoshi nodded a little scared. Su Ming stroked his chin and looked Shirahoshi up and down. Want to protect the Fishman Island? Shirahoshi was stunned, but quickly reacted and nodded with a firm expression. Yes, Shirahoshi wants to protect the Fishman Island. At the same time, Vanderdecken X, whose arm was cut off, was also pressed up by the mermaid. Su Ming pointed at Vanderdecken X and said to Shirahoshi, go up and slap him twice. If you satisfy me, I will accept you as my apprentice. Chapter 146 Value. Shirahoshi didn't react for a moment when he heard Su Ming's words. Su Ming turned to look at Shirahoshi and smiled faintly. Why, didn't you understand? Go, give him 2 slaps. If you can satisfy me, I can take you as my apprentice. On the side, Neptune, the father, frowned. Yes, Su Ming helped his daughter solve the problem, but that doesn't mean his daughter can let him do whatever he wants. Neptune's eyes flashed with anger, and just as he was about to step forward, he was held back by Otohime. He turned around and saw Otohime looking at him, shaking her head slightly. Let Shirahoshi decide for himself. Others may not know, but Otohime knows it very well. Su Ming is not an ordinary marine. In this ocean, people who possess the rare observation haki are even rarer than conquerors. And judging from the celestial dragon's attitude towards Su Ming before, Su Ming's strength must be extraordinary. At least they are much stronger than the slaves kept by celestial dragons. At least the elite vice admiral level of naval headquarters. In addition to Su Ming's identity as a celestial dragon, Shirahoshi would not suffer any loss if he could really take Su Ming as his master. Princess Otohime whispered to Neptune, Sir Su Ming is helping Shirahoshi. Although Shirahoshi is a kind child, he lacks decisiveness in doing things. This is very deadly on the open sea, especially for someone of Shirahoshi's status, which is not necessarily a bad thing. After hearing what Otohime said, Neptune thought about it secretly and felt that what Otohime said made sense. He shook his head and stopped trying to stop him. Everyone present now looked towards Shirahoshi. For a moment, the young Shirahoshi felt tremendous pressure and kept backing away, trying to hide behind Neptune. Su Ming frowned. This won't work. Su Ming turned around and walked to the Murloc guards who were escorting Vanderdecken X. Let him go. The guard didn't react for a moment. I said, let him go. Su Ming said coldly, releasing a trace of Conqueror's haki. The Fishman guards were so frightened that they retreated again and again. Su Ming looked at Vanderdecken X, who was almost trapped like a dumpling, with his hand on the hilt of the knife. Before anyone could react, a flash of cold light passed by, and all the ropes on Vanderdecken X were cut off. So fast, everyone exclaimed. Vanderdecken IX was confused and looked at Su Ming nervously, not knowing what the other party meant. Su Ming showed a sly smile on his face as he looked at the confused Vanderdecken X. Advertisement. Tell me, why did you attack Shirahoshi? It's best to tell the truth. You know what Princess Otohime is capable of. Su Ming said this, then paused and turned to wave at Doflamingo. Seeing this, Dover stepped forward. What do you want, Commander Su Ming? Su Ming pouted. Look at this guy, if he dares to tell a lie, you know how to deal with it. Doflamingo chuckled and said, don't worry, leave this to me. Doflamingo pulled his hand out of his pocket, and several thin wires were connected to his fingertips, vibrating continuously. He walked in front of Vanderdecken X and as soon as the thin thread in his hand touched his skin, Vanderdecken IX's skin was immediately scratched and blood oozed out. Doflamingo waved his hand casually, and a piece of flesh on Vanderdecken IX's chest was peeled off as if by a peeler, leaving a bloody mess. Vanderdecken X screamed, and Shirahoshi was so scared that he covered his ears and didn't even dare to raise his head. Doflamingo smiled cruelly. Haha, don't be so anxious to scream, you will have the chance to scream later. One lie is as good as one piece of flesh. You have many opportunities. We can take it slow. It was at this moment that Doflamingo showed his true self. Don't think that Doflamingo is sensible and obedient around Su Ming. That's because Su Ming has a hold on his lifeline and has enough strength to suppress him. But when facing others, Doflamingo is still that ruthless and cruel guy. But he no longer targets ordinary civilians. Mainly due to the influence of Su Ming. In the words of Su Ming, those who make money from ordinary people are at best businessmen. If you make money from merchants, you are a noble. Make money from the nobles, you are a politician. But if you want to become a celestial dragon, you have to know how to make money from the world government. Doflamingo firmly believed this. After all, that was how Su Ming got to the top. Dover has also been working towards this goal. At Dressrosa, we no longer extort money from the common people, but instead focus on long-term interests. Establish your own image among the common people. Then they made money from the nobles. It's true, over time, Doflamingo actually established his own prestige in Dressrosa. There is a faint momentum of becoming the savior of the common people. And with this title, he collected some money from the treasury and some nobles who crossed the border. His income not only did not decrease, but increased instead. After knowing this, Doflamingo regarded Su Ming as his guiding light. It turns out that making money can be really respectable. Advertisement. Run outside the Fishman Island. Neptune and Otohime were both shocked by Su Ming's words. If Shirahoshi can still tolerate this, it proves that this Poseidon has no value in training at all. This guy has such disgusting intentions towards his daughter, and even wants to use Shirahoshi to control the mermaid royal family. How can he let him go? Here today, only you can stop him from leaving. Neptune tried to stop him, but saw Doflamingo blocking his way. Su Ming turned around again and looked at Shirahoshi with a faint smile. At this moment, Dover regarded Su Ming's words as an imperial decree. If Shirahoshi could recruit Poseidon, one of the three ancient weapons, he would have a powerful trump card. An hour later, the carpet in the living room was stained red with blood. Shirahoshi, who has always lived under the protection of his parents, never thought that the world is so dangerous and complicated. Kicked twice casually. One more step forward and you will take action yourself. Even the idea of using Shirahoshi to control the Fishman was uncovered. At this moment her eyes were full of confusion. Shirahoshi, what is your choice? Seeing the figure of King Vanderdecken the Ninth gradually disappear into the distance, Neptune, Princess Otohime and their guards could only stare blankly, not daring to move. Vanderdecken X ignored the pain in his body and struggled to stand up. Vanderdecken IX was frightened by Doflamingo's momentum and tried to escape. Seeing this, Hancock and other 7 warlords of the sea also stepped forward and stated their positions. Doflamingo means something obvious. Under his own pressure, Vanderdecken X had revealed all his malicious intentions. Su Ming then asked slowly, tell me, why did you attack Shirahoshi, and what are your plans for the future? Yes, it seems that everything is said. Even if the world government goes against me in the future, with Shirahoshi here, I can remain calm and do nothing in the sea. His body was controlled by the parasite string and he couldn't move. Su Ming also stood up at this time, raised his eyebrows and looked at Vanderdecken X who was lying on the ground. Most of the flesh on Vanderdecken IX's body had been torn off, leaving him no longer in human form. You can go now. But if Shirahoshi is a cowardly saint at heart, Su Ming would rather not have this trump card. What? I'm sorry, Commander Su Ming didn't let you move. Faced with Doflamingo's tactics and Otohime's observation, Vanderdecken X still expressed his thoughts and goals in front of Shirahoshi. Chapter 147 Awakening, Meeting Gift. Watching King Vanderdecken the Ninth running away, Princess Otohime showed an anxious look on her face. With her special knowledge, she knew very well that if Vanderdecken IX was let go, it would definitely be a big trouble for her daughter in the future. And the other party has completely hated the Fishman Island in his heart. Even if you don't kill him, at least you have to control him. But on the side, Doflamingo and several other big pirates were standing by and staring at him. Su Ming would not allow anyone except Shirahoshi to attack Vanderdecken X. Princess Otohime could only worry. Finally, Vanderdecken X ran to the edge of the bubble surrounding the Fishman Island. As long as he got out of here, he would be completely safe. Su Ming didn't say a word the whole time. He just sat there, trimming his nails with a nonchalant look on his face, without any intention of urging Shirahoshi. Haha, you dared to let Lousy escape, how stupid. Wait for Lousy to leave and find a way to catch him. Shirahoshi, you will be mine sooner or later. Vanderdecken X thought to himself. Princess Otohime, who had been observing King Vanderdecken X from a distance, frowned even deeper. Otohime looked at Shirahoshi helplessly and shook her head silently. Shirahoshi is a little too kind. How can he survive alone at sea? As a parent, Otohime does hope that Shirahoshi can live a happy and peaceful life. But Otohime knew that it was impossible for Shirahoshi to live a peaceful life. There are no secrets in this world that can remain hidden forever. It would be known sooner or later that Shirahoshi was Poseidon. By then, Shirahoshi or the Fishman Island will not have enough strength to protect themselves, and Shirahoshi's end will be very miserable. Otohime was also very helpless about this. However, just as Vanderdecken X stepped out of the Fishman Island air membrane and was about to leave. Deeper in the sea, a dark shadow gradually approaches. From a small black dot at the beginning, it slowly covered a large area. Before Vanderdecken X could react, the huge Sea King swallowed him in one gulp. After that, the Sea Kings looked towards Shirahoshi in Mermaid Island, and then swam towards the deep sea. It all happened so fast. It was so fast that everyone who thought the matter was a done deal didn't react. Pa. Su Ming stood up from his chair and applauded Shirahoshi. Well done, Shirahoshi, you've got a great chance to win for Mermaid Island. Shirahoshi, who was still young, didn't know what was happening. Shirahoshi faltered. I just wanted to attack Vanderdecken X. But the other party had already run far away. Shirahoshi felt anxious when he thought about the danger that Mermaid Island might face in the future. Advertisement. Although she is young, she is not a fool. She can understand it by looking at her father and mother's attitude towards Su Ming. The Su Ming in front of him will definitely be of great help to the Fishman Island. But in the end, I messed it up myself. Shirahoshi kept praying in his heart, hoping that someone could help him. Finally, a miracle really happened. Vanderdecken IX was actually eaten by the Sea Kings. Su Ming looked at Shirahoshi like this and smiled without explaining anything to him. The Sea Kings that ate Vanderdecken X were never a coincidence. Shirahoshi has not yet fully awakened, but he will still communicate with the Sea Kings in times of emergency or subconsciously. This proves that Shirahoshi still wants to get rid of Vanderdecken X. At least it's not the saintly heart that I think it is. Just pure kindness and cowardice. That's enough. Su Ming walked up to Shirahoshi, smiled slightly, and gave Guon and others a look. Everyone understood, nodded, and walked out of the room. Led by the guards, he went to the restaurant. Apart from Su Ming, the only people left in the room were King Neptune, Princess Otohime and Shirahoshi. Well done, little Shirahoshi, you have won a future for the Fishman Island. In this world, you can't survive by relying on kindness alone. Would you like to be my disciple? You have great talent, but you haven't developed it yet. I can give you the power to protect the Fishman Island. As Su Ming was speaking, he suddenly thought of a famous scientist in a certain village who loved playing with snakes. It seemed that he was also abducting children like himself. Little Shirahoshi looked at his mother and father hesitantly. The two of them just gave her an encouraging look. Otohime and Neptune also saw what happened just now. This made the two who had been protecting Shirahoshi closely realize that Shirahoshi might not just need their protection. Little Shirahoshi bit his lip, hesitated again and again, and finally lowered his head towards Su Ming. I would like to take you as my teacher. Su Ming laughed happily when he heard this. Haha, good. From today on, you are my Su Ming's apprentice. This also gave Princess Otohime another reassurance. Whether the shichibukai issue is resolved or not, come back to me immediately, or else Crane will come after me and kill me. Advertisement. You little brat, you're not going back to the naval headquarters, are you? Finally, Su Ming agreed to find a way to obtain the legal rights of the Fishman Island in the world government. The speed of making money is still too slow. As the saying goes, if you want to get rich, you must first build roads. A win-win situation for both parties was achieved. You plan to come back after you have a child, right? Just as he was thinking about it, the den mushi on the table in Su Ming's house suddenly rang. Now Crane is staring at me in my office all day. Suddenly working with Su Ming again doesn't sound good. Legal trading and killing of fish are prohibited. And got the support of Mermaid Island. Su Ming owns the development rights of Mermaid Island. Anyway, if the gifts don't amount to 100 million Baileys, I'll deduct the rest from your wages. As long as Shirahoshi is trained, he will really have a bargaining chip to negotiate with the world government. Especially that stinky old man Garp, he's different, he has to double it. It seems that the plan for the sea train must be implemented as soon as possible. Su Ming picked up the den mushi and heard Sengoku's angry roar. Because of Shirahoshi's relationship, Su Ming's subsequent collaboration with Otoki Neptune's the Fishman Island went much more smoothly. Old Sengoku, just help convey this matter. Starting tomorrow, I will train you personally. Not to mention the 5 elders, even the one behind the celestial dragons has to talk calmly in front of him. Su Ming also vaguely revealed to the two some of his relationship with the night bar. Don't worry, I got it. I'm ready to go back. I shouldn't have sent Guon to follow you. Su Ming seemed to have seen countless Baileys waving at him. After all, the Fishman Island is still protected by Whitebeard. But if it's with a night bar, it's completely different. In the room, Su Ming stood in front of the window, thinking to himself. By the way, you old men, get ready. I have a new apprentice. He is an elder after all. You can decide on the gift for him. He accepted Poseidon, one of the 3 great weapons of ancient times, as his disciple. Yeah, Su Ming rolled his eyes and scratched his ears speechlessly. Wait until I save some more money and make a simplified super satellite orbital gun. Once the sea train is opened, you can make a lot of money just by collecting transportation fees. Chapter 148 Return to Headquarters. Naval Headquarters, Office of Marshal Sengoku. Sengoku, if you don't give me an explanation today, don't blame me for going to Sora to make trouble. Su Ming has kidnapped Guon for more than half a year. If you, an old man, hadn't insisted on letting Guon supervise Su Ming, would this have happened? The usually calm Suru was now standing in front of Sengoku, holding his hands on his waist, with a frown on his face, looking like he would never give up until he got the result. Sengoku lowered his head, covered his face, and said nothing, with dark lines on his forehead. Say what? I didn't expect that Su Ming, that brat, was just here to carry out a mission and was gone for half a year. At first he answered his own calls, but now he doesn't even answer them. Calm down first. I will definitely not let this kid off if he comes back. Calm down. How do you want me to calm down? Sengoku, I have always treated Guon as my own sister. I tried my best to protect her at the naval headquarters, but you just sent her out. At this point, his face became even angrier. If it weren't for the fact that this was Sengoku's office, he would have probably taken action by now. Suru pressed down on Sengoku's desk with one hand and grabbed Sengoku's beard with the other hand, pulling Sengoku in front of him. Sengoku's pet goat was shaking and shivering with fear. It hurts, it hurts. Please let go first. We can talk slowly about what's going on. Sengoku kept begging for mercy and scratched his beard to ease the pain. Sengoku, I don't care what method you use, immediately, call that kid Su Ming back to me, and Guon as well. Just at this moment, bang, bang, bang. There was a knock on the door of Sengoku's office, and a marine stood outside the door, reporting nervously. Marshal Sengoku, General Su Ming is back. Wow, are the marine executives so good at playing games now? Didn't they say that Vice Admiral he has a family? I hope I won't be silenced. Seeing that there were other people around, he snorted coldly, put down his hand that was pulling Sengoku's beard, and stood aside with his shoulders folded. Sengoku coughed lightly to hide his embarrassment and said in a pretentious manner, "Ahem, don't get me wrong, Vice Admiral Suru and I are old comrades. I was just testing whether my skills have declined. Marine, I believe you, old man. Advertisement." However, the soldier only dared to say this in his heart, and saluted Sengoku with his body upright. "Yes, I didn't see anything." Suru glared at Sengoku fiercely. Sengoku shuddered again. "Ahem, that's enough, if you have anything to say, just tell me." Sengoku dropped the subject and got back to business. Marshal Sengoku, General Su Ming, has returned with the recruited 7 warlords of the sea. We are in the meeting room now, please see. Sengoku stood up suddenly, his eyes fixed on the soldier. "What did you say? You're back. So Su Ming and Guon are back too." He suddenly turned his head and stared at the soldier and asked. The soldier was startled and took half a step back, then nodded under his sharp gaze. "Yes, Vice Admiral Guon is back too and is in the conference room now, but General Su Ming said he has something to ask and will come over later." He didn't care about what the soldier said next. When he heard Guon coming back, he immediately pushed the door and walked towards the meeting room. Sengoku saw this and hurried to follow. Naval headquarters, in the conference room. "Hey, I say, you Marines are too insincere. Didn't you invite us? Now you make us wait here," Crocodile said impatiently while wiping his pirate hook. He, there are quite a few interesting guys in the naval headquarters. It would be great if they could bring back the terrifying Spinnaker. Damn it, you actually dared to make me wait here and waste the time I can spend with Darling. I should turn all of you into stone. Boa Hancock said dissatisfiedly. Guon stood at the door, holding a knife, closing his eyes and resting, ignoring the group of guys. She finally understood that although these guys in front of her were obedient and well behaved in front of Su Ming, once Su Ming left, even she would not be able to control them. Fortunately, these guys knew that they had a special relationship with Su Ming, so they only dared to complain to themselves. Just then, the office door was pushed open from the outside. He was the first to walk in. He looked around and saw Guon. His eyes lit up. He took 2 steps forward, grabbed Guon's arm and looked him up and down. Guon did not continue chatting with he, and reported to Sengoku. "Marshal Sengoku, Su Ming went back to the tavern, changed his clothes, and will be here soon." "Sister he, I'm fine, Su Ming is fine," Guon said hesitantly with a red face. Seeing how shy Guon was before, Sengoku knew without a doubt that this person must be one of Cheng's own family members. This brat shouldn't have been allowed to go with Guon. Such a good marine commander was led astray in just half a year. Advertisement. But he couldn't help but curse Su Ming in his heart. If you can't even handle a trivial matter like negotiation, you'll have to give the position of marshal to that brat Su Ming. As for the rest, I can naturally handle the negotiation. Who made this eccentric guy train such a monster disciple? He originally wanted to say that he would take action himself. Based on the principle of whoever discovers, manages, trains and takes responsibility, he has no psychological burden in passing on the blame. Is it possible to make an old man angry? Guon thought, why not wait for Su Ming to come before talking? Marshal Sengoku, these guys are quite difficult to deal with. You. Guon looked at the confident Sengoku and blinked. Seeing that Guon and Suru wanted to continue chatting, Sengoku couldn't help but cough lightly to draw their attention to himself. Somehow, I suddenly felt that Sengoku seemed to have taken this matter too lightly and might fail miserably. Considering the presence of Crane, Sengoku finally gave Guon's mission a good evaluation against his will. Guon turned to look at Hancock who was sulking, and nodded in agreement. As a person who has experienced this, how could he not know what was going on when he saw Guon like this? After being stunned for 2 seconds, he turned around and glared at Sengoku fiercely, which made Sengoku step back. Where's Su Ming? When will he come? Sengoku complained in his mind. Before he could finish his words, Sengoku waved his hand. He grabbed Guon's hand and sighed, hey, just think it through. That guy is not someone you can easily deal with. If you've been wronged, tell me and I'll help you. I'll help you get Garp to discipline the disciples. Sengoku nodded confidently. The 7 warlords of the sea that were invited are all here, but each of them has different requirements, so you have to negotiate in person. Ahem, Guon, you performed well on this mission. But considering Su Ming's current strength, he changed his mind and gave this task to Garp. When Guon heard what he said, her pretty face turned red. Considering the rapid development of her relationship with Su Ming over the past 6 months, she didn't know how to start the conversation. Sometimes he would make these old men angry for no reason. Guon, how is it? Su Ming hasn't bullied you this year, has he? That's easy. Su Ming can call someone over. What's so good about that kid Su Ming? It's okay, I can handle this little thing. Chapter 149, Justice of Slacking Off. After returning to Marineford, Su Ming did not go back to the night bar as Guon had said, but instead went to Zephyr's residence first. As a former Marine Admiral, Zephyr naturally has his own residence in the naval headquarters. In a villa near the beach, Zephyr, with his upper body naked, kept punching and training his armament color. On his right arm, he carries a huge seastone crusher. Although the heavy seastone crusher destroyed some of his balance, his punches were still swift. Every punch would produce a violent sonic boom and stir up a wave of air. At this time, Su Ming came in from outside the courtyard clapping his hands. Looking at Zephyr, Su Ming walked into the courtyard and said with a smile, "It seems that Teacher Zephyr has recovered well." Seeing that it was Su Ming, Zephyr stopped what he was doing and his armament color slowly faded away. "You little brat, are you willing to come back? You are really good. You can carry out a mission for more than half a year. You are the only one in the entire Marine." Although Zephyr has not been to the Sengoku office much in recent months due to being at home injured. But every time Sengoku came to see me, he couldn't help but complain to me about this kid Su Ming. Zephyr's ears were almost calloused from hearing so much. Su Ming smiled awkwardly. "There's nothing I can do. That group of shichibukai is too difficult to invite." Zephyr rolled his eyes at that. "I don't believe you. If you put in your best effort, it will take you less than half a year to invite shichibukai, let alone the 4 emperors. It goes without saying that this guy is just slacking off on purpose." However, Zephyr is not in a position to interfere in other people's affairs. Su Ming has Marshal Sengoku to worry about while he is slacking off, so he just needs to take care of his own business. Zephyr turned around, put on his coat, walked back into the house, took out 2 cans of beer, and threw one of them to Su Ming. Su Ming was not polite. He took the beer and followed Zephyr to sit in the pavilion in the courtyard. The two of them tacitly did not speak. After drinking a can of beer, Zephyr looked at the calm sea and suddenly spoke. "You're back. The shichibukai matter has been settled, right?" Su Ming's hand movements paused for a moment, but returned to normal the next second. "Well, they should be negotiating the terms in the conference room now." Su Ming raised his head and took another sip of beer. Hearing Su Ming's words, Zephyr's eyes dimmed a little. Zephyr considers it justice and duty for Marine to capture pirates. Advertisement. Now that Marine and pirates are seeking cooperation, and cooperation as equals, it is tantamount to denying the first half of his life and all his efforts for Marine. Even if these pirates were to be forcibly recruited, Zephyr would not find it so difficult to accept. It happened to be cooperation. Zephyr's last hope for Marine was completely shattered as this matter was finalized. Perhaps the so-called justice that I insist on is never the same as Marine's justice. The salty and humid sea breeze blew past. Su Ming glanced at Zephyr sideways, then turned his gaze back to the sea. Even though Zephyr had taken the life potion he had given him, he still looked much older at this moment. A person's mentality can really affect the body to a great extent. Turning your hair white overnight is never an exaggeration. Su Ming shook his head. He couldn't comment on Zephyr's situation. In the Marine, it seems that every senior official has his own justice. That's what we call belief. Zephyr is no exception. But Su Ming doesn't have such a thing. Since joining the Marine, I have had only one goal. Live freely, without danger, and live easily without constraints. Whether to protect others or fight against pirates depends entirely on your mood. If it is convenient, I might take care of it if I see it. But if you don't want to, no one can force you. So Su Ming never claims to be righteous. As a lazy person, why should I care about something as responsible as justice? Is it not pure to cause trouble to yourself? In life, it is rare to have a clear conscience, so why should you burden yourself with so many unnecessary things? Oddly enough, Su Ming's style of doing almost nothing and acting entirely on his own will has won him great support among civilians and Marines. Damn it, you little brat, can't you learn something good from your master? You stole my snacks right after you came back. Teacher Zephyr, if you have financial difficulties, you can get the help you want here. The words, Night Bar, are printed on the card in gold thread, and the matte texture makes it look very high-end. If one day I really fall out with the world government and the Marine doesn't stand on my side, I'll need some help. Now that we are here, we have shown our sincerity. We are cooperating, but let me be frank. If there is no satisfactory result, we may not do this shichibukai. Advertisement. A voice came from the door. Putting down the card, Su Ming said nothing more and turned to leave Zephyr's courtyard. You've already arrived at the naval headquarters, and you're still negotiating terms with me. For the sake of my salary, I accepted it. Su Ming placed the card next to Zephyr. Perhaps it is because I am not bound by so-called justice when I act, and the results are more easily accepted by most people. Supporting Zephyr to form a new Marine not only helps Zephyr to resolve his worries, but also gives himself an extra trump card. Su Ming stood up and took out a black card from his arms. Behind his desk, Sengoku continued to take deep breaths. Sengoku was about to speak when he looked at the snacks in Su Ming's hand and was suddenly stunned. FKU, these are a bunch of Gyuki snake gods. If the 5 elders hadn't ordered me to recruit several people as shichibukai to cooperate with the work, I really wanted to give these guys a big Buddha shock wave. Do you really think the devil fruit I ate was in the form of an ordinary person? Marshal Sengoku, you are the one who invited us to the naval headquarters this time. Mainly Gecko Moria and that crocodile. What, you two also have a crush on Su Ming? I don't have any requirements. As long as Marine doesn't cause trouble for my kingdom, I can take this position for Darling's sake. Forget about Hancock, he might have some connection with that brat Su Ming. Gecko Moria hugged his shoulders, crossed his legs and said arrogantly. Hancock sat on the chair, looking absent-minded, glancing towards the door from time to time. Ah, darling, why haven't you come back for so long? I miss you so much. Hey, it seems like you guys are having a pretty good conversation, old man Sengoku. How about I stop interrupting you and you guys continue chatting? Looking at the arrogant Gecko Moria and Crocodile, Sengoku was about to lose control. Everyone in the room looked towards the door. But what right do you two have? Su Ming was seen leaning against the door frame, holding a bag of snacks in his hand, looking very contented. Naval headquarters, in the conference room. Wait, why does this snack packaging look so familiar? As he said that, Hancock's expression changed and he glared at Sengoku. Listen carefully, old man, I am doing this for the sake of Su Ming's darling, not because I am afraid of Marine. Yes, I need funds. If Marine can support me, I will join. Crocodile said with a gloomy face. Chapter 150 Translation, what a surprise. Su Ming curled his lips as he listened to Sengoku's roar. You old B****************, D, you need to speak with integrity. I didn't steal it. Your bag of snacks was on my desk. I took it openly. Besides, you old man, you are now a Marine Marshal. How can you be so careless about your diet? How dare you eat unopened snacks? What if someone drugged you? I'm sacrificing my own health to help you test the poison. It's fine if you don't thank me, but you even dared to yell at me. I was originally planning to keep this bag for you, but now that you've made a mistake, I have to punish you, so I'm going to confiscate this bag. As he spoke, Su Ming took out another bag of snacks from his pocket, tore open the package without mercy, and began to taste them. Sengoku looked at the new snack package that Su Ming had taken out and felt a pang in his heart. Sengoku clutched his chest, trying to calm himself down. Compared to this kid, Gecko Moria and Crocodile in front of me are much more pleasing to the eye. I put the last pack on the table, I admit it, but I'm not mistaken about this pack, I should have put it in the safe. Can you explain? Su Ming said while eating snacks. Oh, I know. As the financial sponsor of the entire Marine, I certainly have the right to check whether you, the Marine Marshal, have committed corruption or bribery. But when I opened the safe, I saw the snacks and thought you were trying to bribe me. I am a very soft-hearted person. If I take the snacks, I have to pay for them. Old man Sengoku, you are sensible. Sengoku. I bribed you with snacks. You really are worthy of being that old guy Garp's apprentice. You dare to say anything to get my snacks. You little brat, put it down for me. That's a specialty that Aokiji brought back from the New World for me. What a carelessness. At my age, I don't have any other hobbies. I just like to eat snacks and relax in my free time. This is not an excessive request for any elderly person of his age. But reality likes to play jokes on him, and he met these two guys, Garp and Su Ming. I'm afraid you two were sent by some pirates to torture me. Sengoku couldn't help but think. At this time, Su Ming also finished eating Sengoku's 2 bags of snacks, walked into the meeting room with a swagger, pulled out a chair and sat down, with his legs on the desk, as if he was going to take a rest. Sengoku was speechless. Advertisement. Get up, you little brat. What do you think this place is? There's still a shichibukai meeting going on, don't mess it up. Just now Sengoku has realized how difficult these guys are. We have just managed to stabilize the situation. If this kid Su Ming comes in and messes up everything, it will be really troublesome. Su Ming looked at Sengoku lazily. Meeting, isn't it over yet? Sengoku covered his head and shook his head. There are still some conditions that have not been negotiated. Su Ming heard this and glanced at the people in the conference room. Gecko Moria and Crocodile suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Bad memories come to mind. Su Ming looked at Gecko Moria and Crocodile and asked with his head tilted. Do you have any other conditions? The 2 men who had been very arrogant in front of Sengoku before now looked at Su Ming with their bodies straight. In response to Su Ming's question, he shook his head like a rattle. No, misunderstanding. Gecko Moria kept waving his hands. That's right, isn't it just about joining Shichibukai? I fully agree with it, and I'll be angry with anyone who disagrees. Crocodile slammed the table, stood up and said excitedly. Sengoku. Bullying the honest people, huh? That's not what you said before. Doflamingo on the side had a strange smile on his face. It seemed that this situation had been anticipated. Those who are chosen as Shichibukai by the world government are not brainless pirates. In addition to having strength, they also need to have good brains. Along the way, the few people realized from Marine's attitude towards them that although they became Shichibukai at the invitation of Marine, the world government actually had the final say. So even when facing Sengoku, Gecko Moria and Crocodile are not afraid. But facing Su Ming, it's different. This one is a celestial dragon, and when a celestial dragon meets this one, it's like a mouse meeting a cat. If this gentleman is made unhappy, even the world government cannot protect itself. Of course you have to be good. Su Ming yawned and raised his eyebrows at the 2 of them, misunderstanding. But old Sengoku doesn't mean that. You seem to be dissatisfied with the Shichibukai matter. It's okay. I'm the best at talking. If you have any opinions, just tell me and we can talk calmly. Su Ming showed a kind smile on his face. Advertisement. In the office, everyone except Hancock couldn't help but get goosebumps when they saw Su Ming's smile. Can we talk calmly? The last celestial dragons you talked to were all stunned. This is a naked threat. Moria and Crocodile's brains were racing. Yes, that's right, General Su Ming. We don't have any objection to this matter. We just saw that you were not here just now, so we wanted to give you a surprise. Surprise. Su Ming looked at Sengoku playfully. Moria quickly said. Yes, it's a surprise. Su Ming spread his hands and said, then translate for me, what is a surprise? Moria and Crocodile were sweating profusely. I know a surprise for myself. At this time, Sengoku suddenly coughed twice. Ahem, recently the mysterious triangular sail and Alabasta Marine are short of manpower. It would be great if someone could help the Marine deal with some things. Ah, I didn't say anything. You guys continue chatting. What was the surprise? Explain it to our General Su Ming. Sengoku acted as if he was just saying it casually and told them to do whatever they wanted, which made Moria and Crocodile feel ashamed. What is this? Why can't I change my habit of showing off? I have to show off in the naval headquarters. This time, I got myself in there. Sengoku has already put forward the conditions. Now that Su Ming is here, there is no need to worry about Shichibukai's treatment. Sengoku obviously meant that he wanted the two of them to work for Marine White Hits. Su Ming seemed to agree with this matter. After hesitating for a long time, although they were very unwilling, for the sake of their own lives, they gritted their teeth and agreed. Gecko Moria and Crocodile forced a smile that was uglier than crying. The surprise is that Marshal Sengoku was actually joking with General Su Ming just now. The security of the two places Marshal Sengoku just mentioned will be left to us from now on. Captain Su Ming and Marshal Sengoku, rest assured, nothing will go wrong as long as we are here. A satisfied smile finally appeared on Sengoku's old face. I have to say, although Su Ming is annoying, sometimes he is the only one who needs to take action. If you don't steal your own things, you're still pretty likable. Sengoku was just about to say something to encourage Su Ming. Su Ming leaned back in his chair and took out another bag of snacks from his arms. Sengoku, you little brat. How many snacks did you take from my office? Chapter 151. We have friends in the newspaper office. After dealing with Gecko Moria and Crocodile, the remaining people naturally had no objections to seeing Su Ming, and things went smoothly. The next specific agreement will naturally be handed over to Marshal Sengoku. Su Ming yawned and walked out of the office. Just as he reached the door, Sengoku seemed to have thought of something, turned his head and looked at Su Ming to remind him. Stinky boy, Garp should be back from East Blue today. Su Ming stopped, turned around, looked at Sengoku playfully, and smiled knowingly. Okay, I understand. Sengoku clenched his fists and coughed awkwardly. Damn it, Garp's disciples would never let him suffer alone. Now that old man Garp is back, he must help share some of the firepower. Garp, who had just walked down from the warship and was standing on the dock, suddenly sneezed. Ah, Garp frowned and rubbed his nose. Strange, could it be that the sea breeze is too strong and he caught a cold? Oh, I'm really old. Bogart, you take the team back, I'm going to go hang out at Sengoku's place. Behind him, Bogart pressed down the brim of his hat but said nothing. It goes without saying that Garp went to Marshal Sengoku to search for snacks. It is well known to all high-ranking Marines, including Marshal Sengoku's office, Vice Admiral Garp, and Commander Su Ming's specific snack pickup location. Bogart held a 2-second silence for Sengoku in his heart. It is really hard for the Marshal to have such comrades and juniors. Garp's eyes lit up when he found out that Sengoku was in a meeting. Meeting. Garp stroked his chin, his eyes rolling. Hee, Sengoku, it seems that God is on my side. I must conduct a thorough search today. This old guy hides in the office all day, and I don't know how many snacks he has hidden. A moment later, Garp kicked open the door of Sengoku's office and was stunned when he saw the messy office. Garp stood in the doorway, eyes wide open, rubbing them in disbelief. FK. Sengoku, your office was robbed. After searching several places where Sengoku liked to hide food, Garp finally admitted unwillingly that the snacks in Sengoku's office had been looted. Broken. Garp reacted immediately. In the entire naval headquarters, besides himself, the only one who dared to turn Sengoku's office upside down like this was Su Ming. Thinking of what Sengoku had said when he called him before, that the boy had a new disciple, Garp broke out in a cold sweat. No, it's too early to come back. We have to run away before that kid sees me. Otherwise, I won't be able to keep my salary for the second half of the year. Advertisement. Garp was really scared by the traitor Su Ming. There was no reason before, that brat Su Ming had been deducting my salary for no reason. Now that he has accepted an apprentice as a legitimate reason, he must have spent all his savings. Garp made his decision almost instantly. However, turning around, I saw Su Ming holding a bag of snacks and looking at me with a smile. There was also a little fish girl next to him, holding a video phone recorder in her hand. You old man, you are becoming more and more unruly. For a few snacks, you even dared to blow up the Marine Marshal's office. Garp, what nonsense are you talking about? Garp looked confused. Su Ming pointed at the video Den Mushi in Shirahoshi's hand and gave an unkind smile. Pictures speak louder than words. I think it's better for you to explain it to Sengoku. Garp covered his face, speechless. You're a cruel kid. Tell me what you want to do. Su Ming chuckled. This isn't the place to talk, old man. Why don't you take a walk? Garp covered his pocket and looked at Su Ming warily. You can go for a walk, but kid, I really don't have Bailey now. Su Ming ignored Garp's words. Hey, old man, how could I not know whether you have Bailey or not? Let's go. Garp clutched his chest. Damn it, letting this guy take charge of the finances was the biggest mistake I made in my marine career. When they arrived at the bar, Garp didn't hesitate to order a large glass of beer and took a big gulp with resentment. Shirahoshi on the side was looking around curiously. Shirahoshi is still young, and has never even been to the night bar on the Fishman Island. Now he came directly to the main store of the night bar, and was curious about every place. After a glass of beer, Garp said, "Tell me, little brat, why did you call me over here? Don't even mention taking in an apprentice. I'm telling you, don't try to cheat me out of my pension. I won't give you a single Bailey before you meet my grand apprentice." Su Ming smiled knowingly after hearing this and secretly gave Shirahoshi a look. Shirahoshi went forward obediently and sensibly to pour Garp another glass of wine. Garp glanced at Shirahoshi, then glared at Su Ming. "You little brat, even though you are a celestial dragon now, it's best not to learn some of the celestial dragon's habits." Garp looked at Shirahoshi and thought it was the fishman that Su Ming bought. Celestial dragons seem to have a special liking for murloc minions. However, seeing that Su Ming did not put a collar on Shirahoshi, Garp did not say much. It would be better for a mermaid girl like this to stay with Su Ming than to be bought by other celestial dragons. Advertisement. When Su Ming heard what Garp said, he knew that Garp had misunderstood. Su Ming took the initiative to pour Garp a glass of wine, and held Garp's hand and said, "Teacher, you see I praised you so highly in front of your apprentice, how are you going to express it? This old man will have a hard time soon. You recorded everything he said just now, right?" Looking at Garp's shameless look, Su Ming couldn't help but complain in his heart. "When did my master tell me this? No, this guy is setting a trap for me." Garp nodded. "Yes, as an elder, I will still show some respect to you whenever I see you. Shirahoshi, why don't you go to see your master?" Su Ming rubbed his hands and kept giving Garp hints. After thinking about it, Garp came up with a compromise. "If you are not more generous, you will be embarrassed in front of your apprentice." Garp shrugged his shoulders and said in a pretentious manner, "Stinky boy, now that I've said it, I will definitely not be stingy. The main point is thick-skinned." However, Su Ming suddenly slapped his thigh. However, Garp seemed to be very pleased with Su Ming's words. Garp picked up the glass and took another big gulp of beer, laughing. "Ha ha ha, you have a conscience, but what you said is basically true." Su Ming looked at Garp and said with a smile, "Don't worry, old man, I won't let your Bailey be spent in vain." But he didn't make any excuses. "I've been waiting for you to say that, old man." "It's okay. Master has friends in the newspaper office. If this old man dares to default on his debt, he will be put in the newspaper and become famous." Little Shirahoshi was standing behind Garp holding a bottle of wine, looking confused. "You are the spiritual pillar of the Marine, the person who carries the high-end combat power. Even though Sengoku is now a marshal, the Marine will definitely not be able to function without you. But the flattery has already been accepted, and it would be difficult to go back on it. Even if I ask you to give a gift to my disciple, I must let you meet the person." Garp smiled slyly. "Hee hee, little brat, your disciple is not here anyway. You'll have a different opinion when you meet your little disciple. Just a token of your appreciation. That won't do, old man. I praised you to the skies in front of your apprentice." Garp admits that he can't bring himself to do this. "Damn it, if I don't give you a good beating, I'll be betraying my conscience." "Good." Garp reacted immediately and looked at Su Ming warily. This shameless old man has no shame at all. Su Ming. I remember that I used this trick to trick this guy into joining the Marine. As long as I see my little apprentice, I will give him a year's salary and train him for half a year. Chapter 152 Zephyr departs. Master. Shirahoshi suddenly had an idea, and he knelt down in front of Garp holding the bottle of wine. Garp looked at little Shirahoshi and pointed at Su Ming. She. Su Ming chuckled. "Just kidding, first joined the Marine because of this old guy. It was agreed that there was no need for training, so he went to talk to Zephyr in person, but it turned out to be useless when he met Zephyr. If I hadn't been so skilled at slacking off, this old man might have really succeeded. Could I not be on guard against him?" Su Ming grinned. "Old man, you've already said it, now is the time to fulfill your promise. I'll just take charge of the salary deduction for you." As he spoke, Su Ming took out a stored value card from his pocket and threw it to Shirahoshi. "Here, this is a 1 billion Bailey's stored value card, a gift from your master and your teacher." Little Shirahoshi looked at the stored value card, feeling a little overwhelmed. Even Garp's eyes widened. "FK, you little B****************, D, you're so rich, but you're still cheating me out of my retirement money." Su Ming rolled his eyes. "Hey, old man, my money is mine, but as a master, you have to show some appreciation." Garp didn't know what to say for a moment. Shirahoshi looked at the sudden windfall and didn't know whether to reach out to take it or refuse it. Su Ming stuffed it into Shirahoshi's hand without saying a word. "Take it, little girl. Remember, as my disciple, Su Ming, you may not be as strong as others, but you must not be less wealthy than others. Then you're slapping your master in the face. This 1 billion Baileys will be your pocket money for this month. If you perform well, I will double it for you." Garp's face twitched as he listened. This kid is really good at teaching his disciples. The main point is that one is rich. Damn it, if it weren't for the master-disciple relationship, I would have changed my mind. The pocket money I earn in 2 months is enough to support myself in my retirement. Little Shirahoshi was also surprised by Su Ming's generosity, and his worldview was greatly impacted. "Is this the master? It seems that my mother said that the master is very powerful, and it is true. After making sure that Su Ming was not joking, Garp stood up and waved to Su Ming, while signaling little Shirahoshi to stay here for the time being. Su Ming followed Garp to the side. Advertisement. What's wrong, old man? Garp looked at Su Ming with a serious expression and asked. Boy, do you really want to take this little mermaid girl as your apprentice? Su Ming nodded. Yes, I definitely didn't lie to you about this, old man. Don't worry, I just gave you the 100 million Baileys for fun, just as a token of my appreciation. Garp, I felt insulted. Garp shook his head. That's not what I'm talking about. The Fishman have their own unique training methods. If you accept her as your apprentice, how will you teach her? Su Ming put his arm around Garp's shoulders and said with a smile, Don't worry, old man. Just teach him as you should. It's not like mermaids can't practice hockey. And Shirahoshi is very powerful. Don't underestimate her because she's small, but if you really make her angry, even you will be in trouble. I'll train her hockey well. As for the fruit, I already have some ideas. Garp widened his eyes and looked at Su Ming in disbelief. You're crazy, little b***************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************yeah is the greatest irony and humiliation for a Murloc. Su Ming waved his hand indifferently. Don't worry, Shirahoshi is my apprentice, how could I possibly destroy her? I'll find a way to deal with the side effect of the Fishman not being able to swim after eating the devil fruit. Don't forget, I have invested in the Marine Science Department. If we give them enough funding, we are not afraid that they will not be able to come up with the research results. Su Ming's words were half true and half false. To solve the problem of devil fruit's side effects, there are enhancement cards in your system mall that can solve the problem directly. But if that's the case, it would be hard to explain if Shirahoshi uses his fruit ability and it's not affected by the Umi Mizukage. This is when the scientific forces that I invested in came in handy. I can just put the blame on the science department. As long as Kaji and Geisa insist that they discovered the finding unintentionally and that it cannot be replicated, no matter how much others investigate, they will be helpless. As for what fruit to let Shirahoshi eat, Su Ming also had an idea in mind. That is Senor's water fruit. At first glance, this fruit ability seems useless, as it can only allow the user to swim by treating everything as water. Avoid attacks to a certain extent. But the ability of the fruit also depends on how you use it. If Shirahoshi eats this fruit and reaches the awakened state, what will be the effect? When Paramesha awakens, it can affect the environment just like Logia. Advertisement. Then combine it with Shirahoshi Poseidon's abilities. Super-sized sea kings are flying all over the sky. Who dares to say that this ability is weak? If it really comes to that, Uranus Pluton will have to step back a bit. As long as his own super satellite orbital cannon is not used, the name of this era will be Poseidon. Garp didn't know what to say after hearing Su Ming say that. Looking at Shirahoshi sighed. Well, just keep it in mind. As soon as Su finished speaking, the Den Mushi and Garp and Su Ming's arms rang at the same time. Sengoku's voice came from inside. Su Ming. Garp. Where are you? Come back now. Hearing Sengoku's strange tone, Garp also changed his usual unfocused demeanor. What's wrong, Sengoku? Is there an incident at Shichibukai? This was the first thing Garp thought of. But then I heard Sengoku on the other end of the Den Mushi sigh. No, it's Zephyr. Zephyr has left the marine. We can discuss the details when we meet. Come back immediately. By the way, Su Ming is with you, right? Ask him to come over too. After hanging up the Den Mushi, Garp didn't know what to say for a moment. Zephyr, his former comrade in arms, actually chose to leave the marine. Su Ming remained silent. Zephyr left a little faster than he expected. It seemed that this stubborn old man had already made up his mind. But if Sengoku lets Garp go after him, that will be troublesome. It seems that I have to find a way to help Zephyr delay it a little longer. Let's go find Sengoku first and find out what's going on. Garp was feeling a little down. Su Ming placed Shirahoshi in the night bar. In the Marine Marshal's office, Sengoku looked at a letter left in Zephyr's house in front of him, and a trace of pain flashed in his eyes. Sengoku, what the hell is going on? Garp walked into the office without kicking down the door, which was rare. Su Ming followed closely behind. In the office, the three Marine Admirals, Suru and Guon are already in the dojo. Sengoku raised his head and looked at Garp and Su Ming who had arrived, his eyes wandering between the two. Finally, he looked at Garp. Garp, find a way to bring Zephyr back while I still have control over this matter. Chapter 153 Water Fruit. Hearing Sengoku's words, Su Ming glanced at Garp silently. Garp sat on the sofa, hugging his shoulders, closing his eyes, and frowning. After a long while, Garp finally spoke. Okay, I'll go there myself, but I can't guarantee that I can bring Zephyr back. Although Zephyr left the marine, he did not become a pirate after all. If Zephyr really doesn't want to come back, it's not a good idea to use any tough measures. The reason why Garp was chosen to go was mainly because of his status as an old comrade. The meeting ended and the three admirals left. Garp didn't want to stay with Sengoku, so he stood up and prepared to leave. After leaving the naval headquarters, Garp turned several corners and came to an alley, where he suddenly stopped. Come out, you have been following me all the way. At the corner, Su Ming did not hide and came out, Teacher Garp. Garp was not surprised to see it was Su Ming. Why are you following me around the old man if you don't go back to the bar? Su Ming asked back, Teacher, are you going to find Senior Zephyr? Of course, weren't you there when Sengoku was talking? Just tell me what you want to say, don't hesitate. Su Ming took a deep breath and said, Teacher, if you ask me, forget it. Since Senior Zephyr wants to leave, he must have made up his mind. Why force it? According to the timeline of the original novel, Zephyr had indeed not left the Marine at this time. Instead, he would have to wait a few more years until the world government was ready to bring Whitebeard 2 into Shichibukai. Only then would Zephyr really give up. Although now Whitebeard 2 was killed by himself. But Zephyr was already disappointed with Marine, the seeds had been planted, and this day would come sooner or later. It can be said that Zephyr's departure from Marine was inevitable. Garp turned around and glared at Su Ming, but when he saw Su Ming's calm eyes, he froze in place and reacted in an instant. Boy, you. Su Ming nodded. Yes, Teacher Zephyr left, and I was actually involved. Garp clenched his fists, veins popping out on his forehead. Why? Give me a reasonable explanation. Su Ming sighed and said, Master, you don't want to see your old comrade being ostracized and abandoned by the world government, do you? Teacher Zephyr's arm, have you forgotten? Do you really think these are all coincidences? Teacher Zephyr's justice is too idealistic. If he continues to stay in the Marine, it will only make him feel worse. The world government doesn't want him to stay in the Marine anymore. This time it's just a broken arm, but next time, who knows what it will be. Teacher, you and I both know what the style of the world government is. After Su Ming finished speaking, Garp seemed to have all his strength drained away, and his imposing aura faded away. Advertisement. Well, there's no need to leave Marineford. At worst, I can just retire and stop getting involved in Marine affairs. Su Ming shook his head again. What Garp said is indeed the life that most Marine senior officers choose when they reach a certain age. But apparently, that's not what Zephyr wants. Su Ming turned sideways to make way. I have explained the situation. It is up to you to decide how to handle it, old man. Hearing Su Ming say this, Garp didn't know what to say and turned away. Looking at Garp's back, Su Ming shook his head helplessly. This old man has had this tangled personality all his life. Never mind. Anyway, the words have been said. It's up to him to decide what to do next. The Shichibukai meeting ended quickly. It is naturally impossible for the pirates to stay in Marineford, the Marine base, forever. At Marineford port, Hancock looked at Su Ming reluctantly. Darling, Su Ming, I have been harassed by Hancock these 2 days. This girl knocked on her door in the middle of the night more than once. He said he was afraid of the dark, couldn't sleep, and didn't dare to be alone. He even came up with the excuse that he was a snake that could do rope tricks. Just so Su Ming could go to his room. However, the upright Su Ming rejected them all verbally. Ahem, mainly because I just returned to Marineford, and Khalifa and Guon are watching me closely. In the end, Hancock failed. Darling, I am leaving soon. If you are free, please come visit me often. I will miss you. Su Ming didn't wait to speak, he just felt several sharp gazes behind him. It goes without saying that it must be Khalifa and Guon Nanako. After sending everyone on board, Su Ming left only Doflamingo behind and called him aside. Seeing that there was no one around, Dover asked in a low voice, Boss, what's the matter? Su Ming put his arm around Dover's shoulders and said, You should have a guy named Senor under your command. Dover was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Yes, there is indeed such a person in the family. Is he a fruit user? Dover shook his head. Not yet. But I got a fruit some time ago and I'm going to let him eat it. Su Ming's eyes lit up. What fruit? Advertisement. Doflamingo shook his head again. Not sure, it seems to be a devil fruit from Paramesha. Su Ming calmed down. Well, don't let him eat the devil fruit yet. Bring it to me. Su Ming guessed that the fruit Doflamingo mentioned was most likely the water fruit. Although Doflamingo didn't know why Su Ming was interested in a Paramesha devil fruit, he nodded. Boss, do you need devil fruit? If necessary, we can spend money to collect some. After all, it's not much money. Today, Doflamingo is very wealthy. Devil fruit, which is worth hundreds of millions to others, is extremely rare. But for night bars, that's it. If Su Ming wanted, he could buy them by the basket. There have always been many devil fruits in this world, but what are lacking are powerful devil fruits and people with special abilities who can develop them to great effect. Su Ming shook his head. No, just send this devil fruit over. There shouldn't be anything going on recently, so just run the bar well. I'll go meet the 5 elders sometime, but they'll talk about you. Do your best. Doflamingo's eyes sparkled. Boss. Su Ming grinned and gave Doflamingo an encouraging look. Doflamingo just felt full of energy. After Shichibukai left, Su Ming spent most of the next month training Shirahoshi. Finally, on this day, the merchant ship sent by Doflamingo delivered a small box to him. When the box is opened, a water blue fruit appears inside. Open black lens bracket devil fruit Paramesha watery fruit. Close black lens bracket. Fruit ability. Swim freely on walls and the ground, and can make objects look like water. Closing square bracket. The introduction is very simple. If you only look at this ability, it is indeed the worst one among the many devil fruits, with almost no room for development. But this is indeed the most suitable devil fruit for Shirahoshi. Besides, I have a backup plan. System, open the mall and redeem the enhancement card. Su Ming muttered to himself. Ding. Exchange for rare items, enhancement cards. Open black lens bracket worth 1 million fishing points. Close black lens bracket. Currently 9.26 million points, do you want to redeem? Closing square bracket. Advertisement Chapter 154, Enhancement Card. Although the enhancement card was not cheap, Su Ming still chose to redeem it. Open black lens bracket ding. Redemption successful. Close black lens bracket. A metallic card suddenly appeared in Su Ming's hand. Of course, I am very familiar with this thing. Attach the enhancement card to the devil fruit and the enhanced information will appear. Open black lens bracket bite. Close black lens bracket. Enhanced item detected, devil fruit. Closing square bracket. Enhanced version of water fruit. It eliminates the weakness of the ability user who is afraid of seawater. After eating the fruit, the ability user can expand the domain, and swim and move freely and quickly in a certain area with the ability user as the center. At the same time, it can make objects become like water, and manipulate objects into water flow to attack. Close black lens bracket. Looking at the strengthened shui fruit, Su Ming nodded with satisfaction. Just as I thought. Not bad. Not only does it retain its original capabilities, but it also has more potential for development. It seems that the Fishman karate that controls water attacks will also have to be arranged for Shirahoshi. I only have this one apprentice now, so of course I have to train him well. Su Ming waved to the little Shirahoshi who was still training nearby. Seeing this, Shirahoshi came over twisting his fish tail. Master. Although under Su Ming's guidance, Shirahoshi is no longer as timid as he was on the Fishman Island. But when it comes to speaking, I am sometimes still timid. Su Ming looked at Shirahoshi and brought the devil fruit to Shirahoshi. I asked someone to prepare this specifically for you. If you believe the master, eat it. Shirahoshi looked at the fruit in Su Ming's hand and took 2 steps back in fear. Master, this is devil fruit. Su Ming did not deny it and nodded directly. Yes, but I asked someone to modify it. This devil fruit will not affect you in water. Despite what Su Ming said, Shirahoshi was still a little scared. Su Ming did not force Shirahoshi to eat. This little girl's character still needs to be further cultivated, and this devil fruit can be regarded as a small test for her. After hesitating for a while, a trace of determination emerged on Shirahoshi's tender little face. He took the devil fruit from Su Ming and took a bite with his eyes closed. The unpleasant taste I imagined did not appear, but instead there was a sweet taste. Shirahoshi slowly opened his eyes and looked at the fruit in his hand. Why is this different from what I thought? Shirahoshi blinked his big eyes and looked at the fruit in his hand in confusion. Su Ming stood up and grabbed Shirahoshi, and instantly activated the 6 styles shave thunder step. Shirahoshi only felt a flash before his eyes, and the next second he appeared above the sea. Looking at the sea surface more than 10 meters away, Shirahoshi was so scared that he danced with joy. Advertisement. Master. Having just eaten the devil fruit, Shirahoshi has an instinctive fear of the sea. But Su Ming showed a wicked smile on his face, and let go without waiting for Shirahoshi to react. Little Shirahoshi suddenly fell from a high altitude. Plop. Water splashed everywhere. The little Shirahoshi who fell into the water grabbed at random. But soon, she reacted. Fine. Shirahoshi tried swimming in the water for a while and found that he was not affected at all. Shirahoshi tried to activate his ability. He discovered that although he could activate the ability of the fruit in water, he could not control the seawater like he could control other objects. Shirahoshi can even turn air into water, except seawater. But this is good enough for Shirahoshi. A fishman ate a devil fruit and not only did he gain abilities, he was also not repelled by the seawater. He had gotten a huge bargain. Su Ming looked at Shirahoshi playing in the water with a satisfied smile on his face. The next second, Shirahoshi jumped out of the water, and the air within a 5-meter radius centered on her seemed to turn into water the moment it touched her. Shirahoshi actually swam up with the help of air. This also completely confirms Su Ming's idea. Yes, it seems that when Shirahoshi is able to awaken, the range covered by the fruit ability is large enough, and this little girl can completely control the sea kings to fight on land and even in the sky. Just as Su Ming was thinking, Shirahoshi, who was swimming in the air, suddenly stopped, grabbed a few times randomly, and fell straight down again. Su Ming covered his face. It seems that the ability of this fruit needs to be developed diligently. With a flash, he pulled little Shirahoshi into his arms, and the two returned to the bar training ground again. Shirahoshi dared to open his eyes only after he felt the feeling of weightlessness disappear. Seeing that he was in Su Ming's arms, he smiled embarrassedly and playfully stuck out his tongue at Su Ming. I'm sorry, master. I just ate the fruit and I'm not very proficient in it yet. Su Ming gently tapped Shirahoshi's smooth forehead. You're not coming down yet. Shirahoshi finally reacted and quickly jumped out of Su Ming's arms. Looking at Shirahoshi who ran to the side to test the power of the fruit again, Su Ming rubbed his shoulders. This little girl is quite heavy. Su Ming knew that Shirahoshi would grow to more than 10 meters in the future. The race and height of the Pirates King have always been a mystery. It seems like I have to go to the research department when I have time. See if there is any way to make this girl develop legs and height earlier. Otherwise it would be inconvenient to fight. Advertisement. Although mermaids will grow out on their own after the age of 30, it is indeed a bit inconvenient before that. Su Ming kept this matter in mind, thinking that he would deal with it when he had the chance. It's about the night bar. The night bar has more and more assets now. It's not safe to keep them on the previous island, so I moved them. Su Ming walked forward with a smile. Seeing Su Ming and Khalifa looking at him, he quickly closed his eyes again. My original intention was just to let Zephyr withdraw some money. Khalifa panicked. Stop it, Shirahoshi is still watching. Shirahoshi nodded obediently and left the training ground. Call the bar and ask if there are two old guys who can't pay their bills and have been detained there recently. Su Ming covered his face. Su Ming nodded casually. It's up to you to decide on this matter. Khalifa wore a tight black OL outfit with fishnet stockings on her slender thighs, paired with gold-rimmed glasses. Her royal sister temperament was undoubtedly revealed. Well, it seems to have been turned into a high-end club. The cost is quite high anyway, and many people come here to visit. Khalifa rolled his eyes at Su Ming. What's the matter? Can't we talk about it tomorrow? Su Ming grinned. Who would have thought that Khalifa would turn it into a high-end club? I was wondering why the two old men hadn't made any movement for such a long time. What a mistake. It was not my intention to trick these two old guys. Now there is no need to think about it. He must have no money to pay the bill, but he was embarrassed to reveal his identity, so he was detained there. Khalifa complained a little. Su Ming, stop messing around. Let's get down to business first. Looking back, it was Khalifa. I sacrificed my vacation time. It's been 2 months since Zephyr and Garp left headquarters, right? Without onlookers, Su Ming started to act naughty and soon made Khalifa's little face red. Su Ming laughed. Okay, Shirahoshi, let's stop here for today's training. Go back and rest first. Just as I was thinking about it, I suddenly heard footsteps behind me. Su Ming looked apologetic and reached out to hold Khalifa in his arms. Suddenly, Su Ming paused and thought of something. Su Ming turned his head and saw little Shirahoshi covering his eyes, standing behind the tree with a cute look on his face. However, after a while, his fingers opened a gap and he wanted to peek. Khalifa gathered up the last bit of his strength to break free from Su Ming's clutches, rolled his eyes at Su Ming but still sat back in Su Ming's arms. Wait, you said you were transferred. Isn't it busy now? What is done with the former place now? Khalifa said in a delicate voice. Khalifa looked at Su Ming strangely and thought about it. Do you think I'm like you, a hands-off boss all day long? Chapter 155 Garp. I have fought wars all my life, so what's wrong with enjoying myself? New World, the border between the 4 emperors and the Marine territories. Normally, such a sensitive location should be very deserted. However, in this place, there is a small island. But it was unusually lively. This is a famous gold-consuming den in the New World, and is called a paradise by various forces in the New World. Simply because anyone who lands on this island, whether a marine or a pirate, regardless of status, can enjoy unparalleled enjoyment as long as they have enough Bailey. There are all kinds of entertainment facilities on the island. Luxury cruise ships, large shopping malls, top casinos, and hostesses. All your needs for eating, drinking, playing and having fun can be met here. The owner of this island is the owner of the night bar, Thunder Emperor, who suppressed the 4 emperors twice. It is an unspoken rule on this island that you cannot take action here. Even the cadres of the 4 emperors who landed on the island were very humble and did not dare to make a big fuss. It is often just called an island-specific speedboat. However, just today, a huge marine warship arrived at the island port. It attracted a lot of people's attention at once. Warship. Which marine is so arrogant that he dares to drive a warship to paradise? Aren't you afraid of the night bar taking action? The pirates on the island became instinctively alert when they saw the warship. The marine on the island looked at the warship with confusion. Just because this warship has never been seen in the marine. The dragon-headed warship, is there such a general in the naval headquarters? In Marine, anyone who reaches the admiral level will have his own unique warship. Apart from some infrastructure, the biggest difference is the bow of the warship. Such as Garp's dog head. The meaning is similar to the pirate's flag of pirates, and it is mostly used to indicate identity. Generally, when carrying out missions, generals will drive their own unique warships to complete them. So the Marine is very familiar with the general's warships. However, this is the first time I have seen the Marine on Dragonhead Gunkanjima. Many Marines are a little strange. Could it be that during the few days I was on the island, a new general took office in the Marine? However, when the deck was lowered and they could see clearly who was walking down from the deck, the Marines finally understood what was going on. Advertisement. The person who came down from the ship was none other than the Marine Logistics Commander-in-Chief, Su Ming. As for why the Marines have never seen this warship. It's right that you haven't seen it. Since he defeated this guy and became a Marine general, he has basically never carried out any missions. The few missions that Su Ming went on were all by riding on a ship. This warship has never left the shipyard since it was manufactured. A second-hand old warship that is absolutely new. After getting off the warship, Su Ming went straight to the night bar. The bar owner obviously knew Su Ming. When he saw Su Ming, his eyes flickered slightly. But it soon returned to normal. This way, distinguished guest. Su Ming also nodded and followed the bar owner. Soon they arrived at the private room. Su Ming sat directly on the sofa, looking at the bar owner in front of him. The bar owner closed the door and became unusually respectful. Boss, we didn't know you were coming and didn't make any preparations for your arrival. Please don't be angry. The bar owner lowered his head when he spoke, and his voice even trembled a little. The person in front of you is the real boss of the night bar. He is the Thunder Emperor who is feared by the 4 emperors in the New World. Only the core members trained by the night bar know that Su Ming is the big boss behind the night bar. Don't be fooled by the bar owner in front of you who looks unprepossessing. But if you want to become the core of the night bar, you must at least have Grandmaster Advanced Armament Color and Observation Color. At the same time, you must also have certain practical capabilities, equivalent to the Vice Admiral level of Naval Headquarters. It's not surprising that the top elite Vice Admiral. In order to prevent the infiltration of the world government, Su Ming replaced every night bar owner with his own people long ago. In recent years, the strength of these night bar owners has gradually increased. Su Ming ignored the bar owner's words and waved his hand. Have two old men come to the bar recently? Hearing Su Ming's words, the bar owner was visibly stunned. Su Ming keenly sensed something was wrong and looked at the bar owner. What's wrong? The bar owner seemed to have thought of something, and a look of embarrassment appeared on his face. Advertisement. Boss, do you know those two? Looking at the appearance of the bar owner, Su Ming had a guess in his mind. Su Ming definitely didn't believe that Garp and Zephyr would suffer in the night bar. After all, those two old guys are very powerful, and the owner of the night bar alone definitely can't take them down. However, if these two old guys really relied on their own strength to fight back, I should have received the news long ago. This means that the two old men are still in the bar. The bar owner smiled bitterly. Boss, please follow me. Seeing the bar owner like this, Su Ming couldn't help but feel curious, so he stood up and followed him. After a while, the two arrived at the door of the kitchen. Before I even entered the room, I could hear Zephyr and Garp arguing. You damn old man, if you hadn't run away, I would have been reduced to washing dishes with you in the kitchen. Old man, stop spitting blood at me. I didn't call you when I came out. You followed me here on your own. Besides, I never saw you spend less money before, and now you're complaining to me. Apparently, it was Zephyr who was speaking. Garp was obviously choked by Zephyr. Lousy has been fighting all my life, so I can't enjoy myself. Beside him, the bar owner looked at Su Ming with an embarrassed expression. Boss, these two are the ones who are very strong. We can't defeat them. This is probably not their real appearance. They are probably wearing rubber masks. The problem is that they agree to wash dishes in the kitchen to pay off their debts and not run away, so it's difficult for us to do that. These two have an incredible appetite. The debt I pay off by washing dishes every day is not enough to pay for their meals. Seeing the boss looking aggrieved, Su Ming patted his shoulder sympathetically. With these two old guys, only I can deal with them. It's bad luck for him to meet this bar owner. Before Su Ming could speak, Garp and Zephyr, who were arguing in the kitchen, suddenly reacted and looked in the direction of Su Ming and the bar owner. Su Ming also knew that it would be impossible to avoid being discovered by Garp and Zephyr at such a close distance. Su Ming came out with a smile. Seeing Su Ming, Garp and Zephyr couldn't hold back anymore. You little brat, you still remember to come. Well, the guy standing behind you, stop standing there and serve the food quickly. This guy has a lot of money, he'll pay the bill. Chapter 156. Great wisdom appears foolishly. In the bar's private room, Su Ming looked at Garp and Zephyr who were wolfing down their food in front of him. The two of them looked like starving beggars, if it weren't for the fact that most of the tableware in the night bar was made of metal. These two old men were about to eat the entire plate. Su Ming grinned and said, I say, you don't have to be like this. People have told me that even if you are detained here for these days, you won't be starved. On the contrary, the wages of you two for washing dishes are not enough to pay for your meals. How dare you? Garp picked up the beer barrel and took 2 big gulps, emptying his mouth full of food before looking at Su Ming. Garp glared at Su Ming fiercely. How dare you say that, kid? If it weren't for that crappy card you gave Zephyr, would we two old guys be trapped here? You said you could come here whenever you needed something. Now you're not only selling alcohol, you're also AP ****, right? Hearing this, even Zephyr raised his head and glared at Su Ming, obviously wanting Su Ming to give him an explanation. Su Ming touched his nose awkwardly. This is a misunderstanding. The bar's funds have been transferred. I just found out about that. Having said that, Su Ming changed the subject. If you ask me, this matter cannot be entirely blamed on me. You two old guys should also bear the main responsibility. Garp and Zephyr were so angry at Su Ming's words that they almost passed out. Boy, speak with conscience. You gave me the card and provided the location. Besides, why are we two old guys being detained here? If you didn't deduct the wages of us old guys whenever you have the time, to the point where you can't even pay the bills. Su Ming interrupted quickly. Stop. You old B******************. I won't say anything about Mr. Zephyr, but I have seen your bill. Are you planning to give Dragon a brother? Garp's face turned red. It's human nature to have S*** after drinking. Su Ming smiled evilly, touched his chin and moved closer to Garp. Promiscuous. Is it promiscuity or indulgence? Tisk tisk tisk, the Marine hero actually has a problem with his conduct. If the Marines at headquarters knew about this, the old man would be furious. Garp's eyes widened and his fists clenched. How dare you, little brat? Su Ming chuckled. Stinky old man, you know me well. I am well known for respecting teachers in the naval headquarters, so I can definitely do this. Garp. Looking at the deserving Su Ming, there were only 2 words left in Garp's mind. Evil. Advertisement. Damn it, I must find a reason to beat Bogart up when I get back. If this guy hadn't discovered this kid, would I be so worried now? If this guy really spread what happened in the past 2 months in Marine, you don't have to worry about your old face anymore. It is definitely not a dream to awkwardly create a Marineford with your toes. 2 seconds later, Garp hugged his shoulders, sat back in his chair angrily, and simply ignored Su Ming. Out of sight, out of mind. But at the same time, he also said, "Little guy, just tell me what you want." How could Garp, who has been with Su Ming for such a long time, not know what Su Ming is planning? If someone said this to my face, there must be something else that he wanted me to compromise on. Sure enough, Su Ming, who was sitting on the sofa, showed an unkind smile and chuckled. How about you say you are my master? It's simple. Just let Mr. Zephyr leave and don't stop him. Garp frowned. He didn't look at Su Ming, but turned to look at Zephyr and said seriously, "Zephyr, this is not a small matter, you should think it through. You're already this old, wouldn't it be better for you to stay in the Marine?" Once Zephyr leaves the Marine, given the consistent tone of the world government, it is very likely that some actions will be taken against Zephyr, and by then it is likely that the situation will be out of control. As a Marine hero, Garp is well aware of the power of the world government. Definitely not one that a Zephyr could contend with. So far, the only one who can slightly shake the world government is this kid in front of him. But that is just an economic solution. When it comes to real strength, no one can shake the world government. Garp doesn't want his old comrade to go to a dead end step by step. Garp is very proud of this. At this point, Garp couldn't say anything more. In fact, Garp understands many principles. Although this old man has a stubborn personality, that is one of his good points. He never imposes his ideas on others. Before traveling through time, when Su Ming was reading comics, Garp said this during the World Summit. By the way, teach Luffy's boys. Advertisement. Yes, you are indeed a man of high virtue. Well, mission accomplished, I have to go back. Garp chuckled. If you don't go, I'll tell Sengoku that it was you who stopped me, and that's why I couldn't catch up with Zephyr. You have to take the blame too. You can handle it yourself. However, in response to Garp's question, Zephyr closed his eyes and did not respond. Garp crossed his shoulders and snorted disdainfully. That's because you're too young. You're looking for Sengoku's snacks, and you need to use your observation haki. I even practiced observation haki just to have some snacks. Do you think it's easy for me? Su Ming complained. Su Ming looked at Garp. It can even be said that Garp's sense of justice is more realistic than anyone else in Marine. At the port, Su Ming and Garp watched Zephyr leave. Garp opened his mouth, but finally sighed weakly. With Su Ming around, the two bar owners, Garp and Zephyr, were naturally allowed to go. Okay, I understand. These words alone are enough to show Garp's attitude towards world government. Garp obviously couldn't accept Zephyr's decision, but before he could say anything else, Zephyr took the lead. Su Ming didn't even think about it and said directly, "Dream on, no one can make me work overtime for free, this is a matter of principle." This is also one of the few areas where he can surpass his disciple Su Ming. If I go back to headquarters now, Sengoku will definitely be suspicious. You boy, accompany me back to East Blue. As long as there's no bloodshed, I'm willing to call it justice. Su Ming said that he did not want to bother with Garp and prepared to board the ship and leave. What's more, there are essential differences in religion between the rich and the poor. Looking at the smug expression on Garp's old face, Su Ming couldn't help but swear. Garp, the Marines are too deeply influenced by the world government to enforce their own justice. It is absolutely impossible for countries to coexist peacefully. There are conflicts within each country. The powerful countries are secretly wary of each other and send their subordinate small countries to harass each other and compete for technological resources as a tool of threat. Sometimes, not speaking is already an answer. As a disciple, Su Ming knows better than anyone that Garp, an old guy who looks careless on weekdays, actually knows more than anyone else. FK. You're so cruel, old man. Su Ming stretched lazily. Ah, old man, that's enough. It's over now. I should go back to the headquarters. You don't know how busy I have been today. I don't know what's wrong with old man Sengoku recently. He hides his snacks more and more cleverly. Although I am old, the justice in my heart is still young. The day first joined the Marine Corps, I swore to uphold justice in my heart until the last moment of my life. However, Garp called out to him, "Wait a minute, you little brat. You left me outside and you want to leave just by patting your butt." Chapter 157 Special Training Methods. Because of Garp's shameless threat, Su Ming finally followed him to Windmill Village. It has been a long time since I last saw the three little ones. At the beach, Su Ming sat on a rock and looked at the three little ones in front of him. Well, to be precise, Ace no longer looks like a child, but more like a teenager. There are some freckles on the slightly childish face, which highlights a bit of ruffian spirit. Seeing Su Ming, Ace almost instinctively protected his two younger brothers behind him. Su Ming smiled at Ace and said, "Not bad, he really acts like a big brother. I am very pleased." Ace's eyes twitched. Why are you here suddenly?" Su Ming's horrific training has left a huge psychological shadow in the hearts of the three brothers. Even though Ace is almost an adult now, whenever he sees the thunder gift on Su Ming's waist, his neck will light up unconsciously, as if it has become a habit. Su Ming raised his eyebrow and looked at Ace. "Why, now that you've grown up, you don't even want to call me uncle anymore?" Even though Su Ming said this with a smile, Ace still broke out in a cold sweat. Even though they have known each other for such a long time, the three Ace brothers still cannot figure out Su Ming's personality. Even though Su Ming is still talking to me with a smile now, he may give me a powerful blow in the next second. Su Ming is definitely capable of doing such a thing. When it comes to training juniors, Su Ming has definitely inherited Garp's true skills, and is even better than his teacher. After all, Garp gave a reminder when he threw the hill. And Su Ming's kindness is limited to not shooting himself with the Elbaf gun when he falls asleep. At other times, you have to be careful even when going to the toilet. Uncle, don't get me wrong. I haven't seen you for a long time. I was so excited that I forgot. The three brothers' fear of Su Ming was almost ingrained in their bones. Hearing Ace's name, Su Ming smiled with satisfaction, walked forward and pulled Ace's face. Yeah, that's good. I love you for what you do, Ace. Haha, it hurt when you hit me. Ace has finally grown up and knows when to bow his head, but unfortunately, he still has two younger brothers. Sabo is okay. He comes from a noble family and has been precocious since childhood. When he sees Su Ming, he is also full of desire to survive. But Luffy, the special leader, is different. Hey, where's that old guy? Hand him over now. I want him to have a taste of my rubber pistol. If I win, he won't be able to stop me from going to sea anymore. Luffy seems to have always been obsessed with defeating Garp. Advertisement. What's more, Garp has been preventing Luffy from going out to sea. Su Ming turned to look at Luffy, looking him up and down. It's true that Shanks was quite good at brainwashing. In just a short period of time, he made Luffy determined to go out to sea as a pirate, and even the Sea Kings couldn't pull him back. But at the same time, Su Ming was also a little curious. Luffy, what's so good about going out to sea as a pirate that makes you so persistent? Su Ming looked at Luffy and asked. Luffy's face was full of seriousness. Of course, Shanks told me that pirates are the freest people on this ocean. I also want to be the freest person. Su Ming rolled his eyes. Shanks is talking bullshit. Pirates' freedom. Ever since the military funds he provided to the Marine became sufficient, the pirates all over the world have been chased by the Marine and are running around everywhere, with their oars almost flying off the edge, and yet they are still talking about freedom. There are only a few big pirates who can really enjoy freedom. Such as the Four Emperors Shichibukai, plus the remnants of the older generation. But pirates at the Four Emperors level can no longer be simply described as officials and bandits. In the New World, the Four Emperors, territory is actually more like a country, and most of the clashes with the world government and the Marine are between countries. It can be said that the days that Luffy dreamed of, drifting freely on the sea as a pirate without any constraints, no longer exist. Pirates today are definitely a high-risk industry. But Su Ming didn't intend to tell Luffy about this. Everyone has his or her own choice, and forced intervention will only arouse rebellious psychology. Besides, other pirates can't be free on the sea when they are weak, but Luffy might be able to do it. As long as Luffy reveals that he is Dragon's son, Garp's grandson, and Shanks' heir. Once this background is revealed, everyone will give him face wherever he goes. Of course, if there is another short essay in the newspaper titled, My Uncle Celestial Dragons. That would be even more perfect. It is not impossible that the Four Emperors will line the streets to welcome us at New World today. The bounty must be larger than others. Looking at the thick-skinned Luffy, Su Ming sighed and shook his head. What a shame, the brat doesn't know how to use his advantages. If I had this advantage when I was Luffy's age, I would have to change the word, justice, in naval headquarters, to monkey. Su Ming rolled his eyes at Luffy, waste. Su Ming thought bitterly in his heart. Well, kind of, advertisement. So I named this training method the Yongshin training method. As he spoke, a thunderclap sounded in the sky. Hold on, Luffy, this is all for your own good. Although he has a simple mind, he knows that if he wants to live a freer life, he still needs strength. Luffy hesitated, then nodded. How dare you stab me in the back? Is this outrageous? Tell me, are you still going to surf the internet? No, are you still going to be the king of pirates? No, are you still going to fight for justice? If you want to succeed with this training method, the most important thing is to always maintain a firm belief. Luffy asked with an ignorant look on his face. Uncle, what's wrong? Are you shocked by my ideals? Well, there are many nobles in this world who bully ordinary people. I want to help them drive away the nobles. Shanks, wait for me, kid. Get off Roger's ship. It's been a while since you last tasted the fist-bone meteor, right? I'll make you recall it when I have time. Before Luffy could react, a bolt of lightning struck him. Nothing but freedom. Become a pirate for this. Are you serious? Drive away the nobles. Use lightning to stimulate the potential of the human body. I will use this method to train you these days. Then he turned around and looked at Luffy, who still didn't know what was going on. Luffy, do you want to become stronger? Damn it, Shanks, you can just let Luffy be the pirates and backstab Garp. But Luffy thought about it seriously. Su Ming moved his fingers, making a clicking sound. Luffy nodded. Su Ming chuckled. Well, Uncle has a special training method, which he learned from a master. Su Ming asked casually. Su Ming was a little depressed. Su Ming stood aside, but had no intention of giving up. We have to go to New World later. Oh, and bring Garp and Yuta with us. Su Ming was stunned and turned around to look at the serious Luffy. This was followed by a scream. The person standing in front of you is the greatest nobleman in the world. Why don't you try to touch your uncle? Do you know that once your identity is announced, even the nobles will come and wipe your flip-flops? Chapter 158 Pirates King Spiritual Pump. On the beach, the lightning subsided and Luffy fell to the ground with smoke coming out of his mouth and his eyes white. Luffy. Ace and Sabo looked at Luffy and shouted anxiously. Su Ming sat on the reef, also looking at Luffy. Seeing that Luffy was actually knocked unconscious by the electric shock, he couldn't help but feel a little strange. That shouldn't be the case. Luffy has already eaten the devil fruit and is a rubber man, so the effect of lightning on him should be greatly weakened. The voltage he just used was only 10 million. When Luffy goes to Sky Island in the future, he will be fine with Enel's voltage of hundreds of millions. Why did he faint now? Su Ming wrinkled his nose, sniffed, and detected the burnt smell, and finally knew what the problem was. It turns out that this guy was not knocked unconscious by electric shock, but was about to be burned to death. Although the rubber body is insulated, it can still be heated. What's more, even among those who have the same fruit ability, there are strong and weak ones with the same attribute. Because of the ability of the fruit, his own lightning is no longer ordinary lightning. Even under the same power, it is not comparable to Enel's natural lightning. And that's not even Hawkeye. After Ace and the others sprayed Luffy with water, Luffy finally woke up. Where is this? Is there anything to eat? Luffy asked confusedly. Ace Sabo had a dark face. This little brother is useless, just throw him away. How can you raise him if he has no brains? You were almost electrocuted, and you still had the mind to find food. Even though they thought so, Ace and Sabo still found food for Luffy. Su Ming did not stop them and just watched the three brothers struggle. It must be said that the monkey family has a very special physique. No matter how seriously injured they are, they can recover quickly after absorbing enough energy. The recovery speed is only slightly slower than his own high-speed regeneration, but even so it is still amazing. After eating and drinking, Luffy looked at Su Ming sitting on the stone and asked curiously. Uncle, am I stronger now? Ace, knew. There's no hope. This guy is obviously trying to make fun of you, and you actually believed him. Su Ming raised his eyebrows, neither admitting nor denying, but said, you and Ace try it. Luffy was unequivocal. Okay. Ace, let's have a competition. Ace covered his head. You are sick, right? Rubber. Advertisement. Before Ace could finish, Luffy had already started. Sabo shrugged, picked up the iron rod and hid aside, giving Ace a look that told him to fend for himself. They both knew that Luffy wouldn't listen to anything when he got there. The only way to make Luffy behave is to fight him. This is the experience that Ace and Sabo have gained from spending years with Luffy. Fortunately, Ace is confident in his own strength. Even if Luffy eats the devil fruit, he can still find a way to suppress him. It's just a little troublesome and he needs the help of some props. However, just when Ace was thinking about finding something to hurt Luffy, Luffy's fist actually hit him in the face at a faster speed than before. What? Now even Sabo, who was watching the show on the side, couldn't sit still anymore. I thought Su Ming was just making fun of Luffy before, but now it seems that what Su Ming said might be true. Can being struck by lightning really increase your strength? If that's the case, Sabo looked at Su Ming who was sitting on a rock holding a coconut and watching the show. How about a treatment yourself? Luffy pulled back his fist and looked at his own hands in surprise. It's really getting faster. Although that punch didn't hit Ace, it made Ace panic, which was rare. Uncle, being struck by lightning really can improve your strength. Ace again. Luffy seemed to be energized and rushed towards Ace again. Su Ming watched this scene but was not surprised at all. He smiled and drank coconut juice. Although I am indeed suspected of doing private work. But it's not entirely false that being struck by lightning can make Luffy stronger. Stimulating cells with a certain amount of electricity can indeed have a training effect and increase human strength. The reason why his physique has reached a level comparable to or even surpassed that of Big Mom and Kaido in just a few years is not only due to his special physique, but also the effect of lightning stimulation cannot be ignored. However, this kind of exercise method should not be excessive. It is exercise as long as your body can withstand it. If you can't bear it, it's really over. Luffy is now a rubber man, and the residual electricity can stimulate his cells for a short period of time, resulting in a temporary increase in strength. The real effect of the improvement will only be felt after the remaining electricity in the body disappears completely. Even so, it is rare. Sure enough, it was just as Su Ming expected. After fighting with Ace for a while, Luffy's speed gradually began to slow down. Luffy is a rubber man, and is largely immune to lightning damage. The residual voltage from the high voltage has a strengthening effect on him. Advertisement. But compared to before, Luffy's speed and strength have improved a bit, just not as exaggerated as at the beginning. Ace and Sabo's eyes widened. So once he gets used to the voltage, the effect will basically disappear. Do you think your little bodies can handle it? Ace and Sabo looked at Su Ming, their hair standing on end uncontrollably. Yes, my uncle is right. I am going to be the king of pirates. When Luffy heard the words, Pirates King, he seemed to be pumped with nitrogen, and fighting spirit burned in his eyes. Instead, he came up to Su Ming excitedly, looking excited. Uncle, what buff? If you want to become barbecue, I don't care. Su Ming chuckled. It's okay, it's just an immune effect. Nephew, that was 10 million volts just now, but I think your potential is more than that. Sabo also hurried forward. Well, I want to try that too. Ace relied on his rich combat experience to finally tie Luffy's hands together, and Luffy finally calmed down. Su Ming explained to the two little kids. Su Ming rolled his eyes when he saw this. Think about it, you are the man who is going to become the king of pirates, don't even mention tens of millions of voltages. It felt like Su Ming's words were like the devil's whispers, and I would be dead if I wasn't careful. Nephew, come here quickly, uncle will give you a buff. And this kind of improvement is not without limit. Even for a rubber man, there is an upper limit to the voltage he can withstand. Su Ming turned to look at Luffy and gave a meaningful smile. Su Ming put down the coconut at the right time and applauded. Ace ignored Su Ming's words and walked up to him. Uncle, can being struck by lightning really make you stronger? Unfortunately, Luffy was immersed in the joy of his improved strength and had not yet realized the seriousness of the problem. Even if it's hundreds of millions, billions, or tens of billions, it shouldn't be a big deal to you. Thinking of the terrifying lightning that Su Ming had just used, Ace and Sabo shrank their necks. Can you give me a couple of hits too? Shit, brother, do you want to reconsider this? You were almost 70% of the 10 million just now, and it suddenly soared tenfold. Alright, forget it. Don't you think so, nephew? Well, no problem, uncle, come on. Okay, let's increase it a little bit, starting with 100 million voltage. This is no small goal, wouldn't it be better to take it slow? Not bad, not bad. At this age, although the old man Garp's attack was hateful, the effect of laying the foundation was really good. Chapter 159 Five Elders. I suspect I am a traitor. Faced with the strong request of his good nephew, Su Ming could only reluctantly develop a training plan. The main one is targeting Enel. I believe that after his own training, 300 million voltages will really be nothing to Luffy. Looking at Luffy who was lying on the ground and foaming at the mouth, Su Ming encouraged him, nephew, stand up. Before I leave East Blue, I will definitely train your electric resistance to the maximum. Hurry up and stand up like a man. Can't you handle just 100 million voltages? I bet if this happened to Ace, he wouldn't even frown. Ace, who was hiding far away, staggered and almost fainted when he heard Su Ming's words. I'm not, I didn't, don't talk nonsense. 100 million voltages, and you don't even frown. You really dare to say that? If this really happens, the only thing I can guarantee is that I will die peacefully, without even having to be cremated. But even with such a crude way of provoking him, the simple-minded Luffy just fell for it. Luffy, who was almost unconscious from the electric shock, sat up again all of a sudden. Come again, Ace. Su Ming gave Luffy a thumbs up without hesitation. Good job, let's make it a little more difficult. Instead of 100 million, I'll give you another 99 million. Ace and Sabo, thinking the training was over, quietly stepped away. Beautiful, you are really ruthless when it comes to cheating your nephew. Soon, bursts of lightning were heard on the beach again. Holy Land, Mariajoy, Office of the Five Elders. The news that Garp had failed to recover Zephyr had reached naval headquarters. Sengoku knew that he could not hide the truth and had no choice but to inform the world government. The curly-haired Five Elders was leaning forward on the couch with a cane, watching the news from Sengoku. Zephyr left the Marine. Advertisement. This result is contrary to our thinking. Marine has completely lost an admiral-level combat force. The loss is still huge. What is more critical is the public opinion. Zephyr, a veteran general who dedicated his entire life to the Marine, left the Marine inexplicably. The loss of combat power is secondary. The hidden damage to Marine's reputation is the greatest. Recently, many mid-level Marine commanders brought up by Zephyr have become restless. The plump Five Elders opened his eyes and said in a deep voice, Zephyr's departure from Marine was indeed beyond our expectations. We originally wanted to cripple one of his arms, weaken Marine a little, and at the same time ensure Zephyr's combat effectiveness to a certain extent while letting him retreat to the second line. But I heard that Zephyr met Su Ming more than once before he left. And after Zephyr left, he was also tentatively expanding his power. I suspect Zephyr received financial support from Su Ming. Maybe this matter is related to Su Ming. Hearing this, the Five Elders, who were holding a long knife on the sofa, snorted coldly. It's that kid again. This kid has become more and more arrogant in recent years. He is out of control now. We don't even have complete information about him right now. A powerful intelligence network is one of the most important means for the world government to control the entire world. In the past, relying on the elite intelligence personnel they had trained, they could easily nip some dangers in the bud. I had the same idea about Su Ming and Five Elders. Thinking of keeping a close eye on Su Ming, and when his behavior gets out of control, he will take action to curb him. However, when a few people realized that this day had come, they wanted to send out intelligence personnel to take action. Su Ming cut off all financial support to the world government almost at the same time. In just 2 days, the Five Elders could only rely on their own wallets to support the operation of the world government. Such a huge machine almost drained the five people's small treasury. Just when several people were about to collapse, Su Ming came at the right time and gave a high-sounding excuse that there had been economic problems some time ago and that guy was itching for money, so the funds were not turned around. After that, Five Elders tried several more times. Without exception, as soon as Su Ming started to do something, his funding chain would immediately run into problems, which was more accurate than the weather forecast. At this time, 5 elders finally realized that the infiltration intelligence organization he had worked so hard to run had been infiltrated. Whenever 5 elders thought of this, he felt very depressed. Now, several people clearly hate Su Ming to the core, but they cannot do anything. After all, over the years, the world government has become accustomed to Su Ming's economic assistance. Advertisement. If Su Ming is really P********* D off, the economic lifeline of world government will be cut off. No one dared to imagine what chaos the world would become. Humph. I shouldn't have let that kid run the wine business in the first place. The tall and thin 5 elders said bitterly. The curly-haired 5 elders shook his head. It's useless. Look at the power this kid has now. Without the wine industry, he has other ways. The other 5 elders couldn't help but sigh after hearing this. Let's talk about Zephyr. First, fill the vacancy of Marine Admiral level combat power and stabilize the morale of the troops. At this moment, the curly-haired 5 elders thought of something and looked up at the few people. What do you think about letting Su Ming be the Marine Admiral? Inside the house, the other 4 people were stunned and looked at the 5 elders who were talking. What did you say? Some people even thought they had heard it wrong. All this was just said in vain, right? Old man, tell me the truth, have you also been bribed by Su Ming? No wonder Su Ming received the message so quickly. Is the problem with you? Feeling the strange looks from several 5 elders, the curly-haired 5 elder coughed awkwardly. It's a misunderstanding, don't think too much about it. What I mean is, let Su Ming be the admiral, but we won't give him the right to recruit more troops. We will only give him the right to protect celestial dragons and execute Buster Call. This way, we can not only fill the admiral position, but also distract this guy from his business. Otherwise, if he stays in the position of Marine Logistics Commander all day, he might come up with some ideas to poach the world government. After hearing the explanation from the curly-haired 5 elders, the others thought about it and felt that it made some sense. There is no doubt that Su Ming's strength has definitely reached the admiral level. It may even be much higher, but I don't know to what extent. It is indeed a despicable waste to let such a powerful fighter remain idle. More importantly, Su Ming can be considered half a disciple of Zephyr. If he were to take on the role of admiral, the gossip among the middle-level management would be much quieter. Giving him a position but not allowing him to increase his troops seems like the world government has nothing to lose. After hesitating for a moment, the 5 people reached a consensus. That's it. Find that boy back. This time, make him accept the position of admiral. Chapter 160 Promotion and Salary Increase. In East Blue Windmill Village, more than a month has passed in a flash. Luffy's resistance to lightning increases dramatically. Uncle, I feel like I've become a lot stronger recently. Luffy's face was filled with excitement. Su Ming took Luffy's training results into consideration during this period. It has to be said that Luffy himself is very talented, even top-notch. In just 1 month, Luffy has basically adapted to Su Ming's electric shock training method. 300 million voltages is nothing more than drizzle. When I meet Enel on Sky Island in the future, I'm afraid this guy will be able to show off. Not far away, Ace and Sabo couldn't help sweating as they watched Luffy bathed in electric light. One was that he was surprised at Luffy's progress, and the other was that he felt the terror of Su Ming. This is 300 million voltages, but Su Ming performed it as if it were a normal attack, without any sense of pressure. It can be seen that his strength is far more than that. Seeing that Luffy was having to adapt again, Su Ming was about to increase the power when the Den Den Mushi suddenly rang. Okay. Su Ming felt a little strange looking at the Den Den Mushi that had been silent for a long time. 5 elders. As the most important financial backer of the world government, Su Ming naturally has a Den Den Mushi that is directly connected to the 5 elders. Of course, Su Ming didn't originally want this Den Den Mushi. I couldn't bear it and 5 elders forced it on me. At that time, Su Ming once suspected that the 5 elders gave him this Den Den Mushi just to make it easier for him to borrow money. But no matter what, the 5 elders were still his leaders in theory. Su Ming curled his lips but still answered the phone. Hello, Su Ming, I have something important to teach you. The 5 elders' deliberately low voice came out from the Den Den Mushi. Maybe it's a bad habit caused by being in a high position for too long. These guys always like to talk like this, as if talking this way is more in line with their status. Su Ming, who was holding the Den Den Mushi, rolled his eyes. I'm not lending money. He's not here. I'm his cousin. Beep, beep. In the office, the 5 elders looked at each other. This guy just hung up the phone like that. The 5 elders, who have always been high and mighty, have never been treated like this. Some people even felt that except for their own Den Den Mushi, other people's Den Den Mushi did not have the hang-up function. Advertisement. However, today, several people were taught a lesson by Su Ming. At the beach, Su Ming rolled his eyes at Den Den Mushi. These old guys are increasingly unable to find their place in the right place. I want to act cool when I'm talking to myself. I wonder who is in charge of the money now. Ultimately, this is a bad habit that the old guys of the generation before Sengoku and Sora developed. We have to pull him over. Su Ming threw the Den Den Mushi aside and let it ring without paying any attention to it. He waited until Luffy was knocked to the ground by the electric shock, completing this treatment, and then he slowly answered the phone. Hello, who is this? I'm his cousin, I don't have any money. Hearing the same words from the Den Den Mushi, the 5 elders on the other end of the Den Den Mushi could no longer hold back, knowing that if they spoke any slower, the call would definitely be hung up again. Etc. Stinky boy, we have something important to do. The 5 elders finally started speaking faster. Hearing this, Su Ming finally showed a satisfied smile on his face. But you still have to act the whole part. Su Ming pretended to be surprised. Huh, it's you guys. Oh, you should have told me earlier. Recently, this Den Den Mushi is in heat and has been harassing me a lot. I'm sorry. 5 elders. The Den Den Mushi is in heat and has a connection. Can the excuse you make up be any more outrageous? Knowing that Su Ming was talking nonsense, they didn't want to tease him any further. After dealing with Su Ming for the past few years, 5 elders has summed up one experience. It is best not to speak to this guy more than 3 sentences. Otherwise, this kid will get P********* D off to death sooner or later. Curly-haired 5 elders get straight to the point. Su Ming, through our observation of you and your contributions to the world government over the years, we have unanimously decided to promote you to Marine Admiral. This call is just to inform you. Speaking of Su Ming's contribution to the world government, even the 5 elders, who were used to telling lies in high positions, couldn't help but blush. The conscience that had not appeared for a long time suddenly ached and rekindled. This guy has been making money for the world government and himself over the years. The greatest contribution was to subdue the celestial dragons. All the celestial dragons in Mariajoy were touched when they saw Su Ming. The problem is that this can't be considered a contribution. For the sake of the world government, this was a disguised betrayal of his own people. I didn't expect that I would have this day. For a moment, my brain was a little confused. Advertisement. The 5 elders were speechless again. I say, you guys are going too far. I am a celestial dragon. It's a great honor for you to be able to reluctantly serve as a logistics commander. Otherwise, even if there is funding, it will be difficult for Zephyr to develop its power. Unfortunately, Su Ming is now the financial sponsor of world government. If anyone else who was promoted to admiral dared to propose such conditions to them, the 5 elders would kick him out without saying a word. After thinking about it, Su Ming decided to take the position of admiral. The 5 elders were sighing, and after Su Ming heard what they said, he answered with 2 words without hesitation. Su Ming, don't think we don't know what you think. When Su Ming heard the 5 elders mention Zephyr, he knew he couldn't continue to play dumb. We must suppress the negative impact of Zephyr's departure from Marine as soon as possible. Rich. The 5 elders on the other end of the Den Den Mushi were stunned again. Trust me, if the reward is high enough, the 4 emperors will surrender themselves. Okay, we agree. You come back immediately and prepare for the coronation ceremony. 5 elders. Su Ming, we are serious. 5 elders said again in a deep voice. Zephyr's matter is related to you, right? We can let it go, but the lost combat power must be replenished to a certain extent. You have really grasped the essence of celestial dragons in recent years. Su Ming curled his lips. Do I sound like I'm joking? But let me be frank. I will not participate in any military activity that does not involve the entire army. Still being an admiral. Today you let me be the admiral. You old guys will make me the marshal every day, right? If you see any pirates you don't like, tell me and I'll put a full bounty on him. You really have the nerve to say that. You are openly drawing a salary for nothing, right? No matter how unhappy they were, for the sake of the overall situation, the 5 elders could only grit their teeth and nod. Isn't being an admiral a promotion? Why does this guy say it's like a demotion? I have placed a bet on Zephyr, and I can't let the world government keep too close an eye on Zephyr. No. Several 5 elders thought silently. There are only 2 words between the lines in Su Ming's words. Okay, I can live with that. I'm fine as the Marine Logistics Commander, but don't expect me to catch pirates as an admiral. I don't have the time for that. You have been promoted to admiral. You are not required to perform any tasks. You only need to keep your basic duties and protect the celestial dragons when it is convenient. No, absolutely not. Chapter 161. Changing Times. Chapter 161. The impact of the Zephyr incident is what the 5 elders really care about, and it is also the most urgent issue to be resolved right now. The 2 sides reached an agreement, and Su Ming's stay in Windmill Village naturally came to an end. Pulling Garp, the 2 boarded the warship and returned to Marineford. Garp kicked open the door to Sengoku's office as usual. Bump. Sengoku, hand over the snacks quickly. However, unlike before, Sengoku did not sit behind his desk with his head in his hands as if he had a headache this time. Big Buddha attack. Shi-ne. The Marine soldiers who were training at the base heard a loud bang, and a figure seemed to be knocked out of Marshal Sengoku's office in midair. Then we see Sengoku transform into a golden Buddha figure. The Marines who stayed at the headquarters were stunned for a moment when they saw this situation. This is the ability of Sengoku Martial Fruit. Why did it suddenly appear? Is there an enemy attack? Of course, most of those who have such thoughts are low-level soldiers in the Marine Corps, and their sources of information are relatively isolated. Some of the real senior executives of Marine already knew what was going on. Kizaru sat in his office, crossing his legs. His office window faces the door to Sengoku's office. This was also Kizaru's deliberate arrangement. The purpose is naturally to ask for leave as soon as Sengoku returns to the office. Kizaru expressed 120% satisfaction with this design. Of course, this idea was not his own, but was mainly inspired by Su Ming. For this reason, Sengoku wanted to change Kizaru's office more than once. Unfortunately, Kizaru rejected them all with various reasons. Kizaru stood up and walked slowly to the window with a cup of coffee. It seems that Marshal Sengoku is really angry. I didn't expect that Mr. Su Ming would agree to be the admiral. It's really strange. I wonder what conditions those people promised. In the entire Marine, if there is anyone who shares the same ideals as Kizaru, it is probably only Su Ming. Aokiji was lying on the recliner when he heard Sengoku's growl and took off his eye mask, glancing in the direction of the office. Advertisement. Su Ming, what is justice in your mind? Aokiji seemed to be asking this question to himself. Although he has known Su Ming for a long time, he has always been a little confused about Su Ming. This guy sometimes stands on the side of the common people, but sometimes he is even more ruthless than celestial dragons and is ruthless when it comes to reaping wealth. Even Aokiji couldn't tell whether Su Ming was a hawk or a dove. But soon, Aokiji shook his head, stopped thinking about these things, pulled his eye mask on, and continued to sleep. Marshal Sengoku has a headache with this kind of thing, it's not my turn to worry about it. Although the three admirals all knew that Su Ming was going to be promoted to admiral, Aokiji and Kizaru did not seem to care too much. Only Akainu. Bang. Marine, what happened? How can a guy like that bear the name of justice? How can he become an admiral? The person who spoke was none other than Akainu, one of the three admirals. Because he was angry, Akainu failed to control the ability of his fruit and a big hole was burned in his desk by lava. After learning that Su Ming was going to become the admiral, Akainu was completely devastated. Is the appointment of Marine Admiral so casual nowadays? Putting aside his character and ability, you are qualified to appoint Su Ming as admiral. Are you afraid that that guy will ruin the Marine? Regarding this matter, Akainu even had a quarrel with Sengoku regardless of their status as superior and subordinate. However, Sengoku completely silenced himself with just one sentence. You really think I am, don't you? The 5 elders appointed me by my parents. Why don't you talk to the 5 elders and see if they will give you face? Akainu. When Sengoku heard what Garp said, instead of feeling guilty, he glared at Garp fiercely. Not to mention the wine, quilts and medical supplies. Although angry, Sengoku still managed to maintain his last bit of sanity. Sengoku, you old man, you took the wrong medicine, didn't you? You hit me as soon as you came back, and you even used the power of your fruit to hit me. It seems that when the times change, we old guys have been forgotten. Damn it, it's all because of that old guy Garp. He's already this old, why doesn't he just stay in Windmill Village and take care of his grandchildren? Why does he have to take in a disciple? Although he didn't want to admit it, Marine's strength had indeed improved a lot since he had Su Ming's financial support. Advertisement. Sengoku always feels that Marine's style of painting has been constantly led astray by this guy Su Ming in recent years. Look at this. Haha, Sengoku, don't get excited, actually that kid isn't as bad as you think. Do you believe me and I'll let you enjoy the Roger treatment? If I really dare to go to Mariajoy and 5 elders to tell this matter, I will be transferred to logistics and accompany Su Ming tomorrow. But he must not use his power as Marine Admiral to cause trouble for the Marine. Marine has been with me for so many years, he can't end up like this in my hands. You still dare to say that? Let's take a look at the entertainment facilities around Marine. Facilities include shopping malls, karaoke bars, cinemas and bars. In the entertainment industry, there is a girl group created by that guy. Yuta, that little girl, is clearly just a recruit. But because of this girl group formed by Su Ming, that little girl's appeal in Marine is more effective than that of Vice Admiral. In the office, Garp rubbed his face with one hand and used a ball of paper to stop his nosebleed with the other. Sengoku said as he threw a document into Garp's arms. As for the 5 elders' face, Su Ming is probably the only Marine who dares to do this. Garp raised his fist threateningly. Sengoku sat back in his chair and calmed down his anger. Seeing those Marine soldiers obsessed with the girl group, Sengoku had a feeling that this was another cancer planted by Su Ming. He did not like to slack off, and he still had justice in his heart that had not been realized. After weighing the pros and cons, Akainu had no choice but to accept this matter. It's just that this guy is making a lot of money from Marine while providing economic support. The good disciple you trained is now going to become an admiral. This is simply a disaster in the history of the Marine. Akainu's teeth were grinding, thinking about Garp's words. Look, Marine has been doing pretty well these years, hasn't it? But it also points out where many specific problems arise. Don't blame me for not telling you clearly. That guy becoming a Marine Admiral was decided by the higher-ups. I can't change it. The noise coming from Sengoku's office didn't last long. Seeing that Sengoku seemed to be losing control of his emotions again, Garp quickly waved his hands. At this point, Akainu was completely speechless. Chapter 162 Gift. After making a lot of noise for a while, Garp and Sengoku finally calmed down. Sengoku was still sullen as he sat behind his desk. Apparently, he still couldn't accept that little b***** D Su Ming became the Marine Admiral. However, at this moment, the office door was pushed open from the outside. The person who came was Su Ming. He looked at the messy office, and then at Garp with dark circles under his eyes. Old man, you guys are playing pretty wild right now. As you get older, you still have to take care of your health. Su Ming walked in carrying a package. Su Ming. Sengoku choked on a mouthful of tea and almost couldn't hold back another big Buddha impact. But just when Sengoku was about to take action, Su Ming slowly took out 4 Den Den Mushi from the package. Hey, old man Sengoku, calm down. You don't want to be the first Marine Admiral to be beaten up by his own admirals at headquarters. I can't stand being scared. If my hand shakes and I press the dial button, it won't be good for Buster Call to fire at Marineford. Sengoku, isn't it good to be a human being? Buster Call fired at Marineford. This is something that only this guy can do. And this guy really dares to do it, because he can afford the compensation. But by that time, I would have lost all my face. It will be written on Marine's resume by then. Marshal Sengoku of the 20th term achieved outstanding results during his tenure, and also launched the largest battle of that era, organizing 4 admirals to launch Buster Call to bombard Marineford. It's abstract when you think about it. Garp also noticed something was wrong and immediately took action, pressing down on Sengoku's shoulders. Wake up Sengoku. Yes, Garp, you hold me down like this, or I will kill this guy. Many years later, when Garp recalled today's scene, it seemed so familiar. Su Ming ignored Sengoku, whistled, and leisurely sat on the sofa opposite Sengoku with his package. Hey, I'm you 2 old men, please stop making such a fuss. Isn't it just a promotion to Marine Admiral? Are you really expecting me to go on a mission? Su Ming's words awakened the dreamer. Yes, this guy is such a troublemaker, how could he possibly lead the soldiers himself? As long as I arrange a more reliable adjutant for him, the situation doesn't seem as bad as I thought. Wrong. Advertisement. What qualifications do you have to say such things? You are the Admiral, Admiral. How can you slack off so confidently? Sengoku almost went crazy. Su Ming rolled his eyes, looked around the office, and finally locked onto a fish tank. He walked forward and flicked the fish tank twice with his fingers. Hey, old man, please don't force me to cover myself with a fish tank to talk to you. I've told you so many times that I'm celestial dragons. Besides, if I slack off, it will be good for Marine. Just think about it, I'm slacking off to prove that business is going well. Business is normal, which proves that I have money to spend. I have money to spend, and Marine has money to spend. So, if I slack off, it means Marine has money to spend. What do you think, should I slack off? Garp and Sengoku, who are already quite old, were stunned for a moment when facing Su Ming's pua. If it weren't for my good physical condition, my brain would have almost crashed. Seeing that the two were no longer bothered by this matter, Su Ming chuckled. That's right, I finally came back once. Don't say I didn't miss you. I brought you gifts. I even brought your goat, old man Sengoku. That's nice of you. Su Ming patted the package beside him and said proudly. Sengoku finally let it go after knowing that he couldn't do anything with Su Ming. At worst he could just assign a few more lieutenants to this guy to prevent him from leading the Marine astray. Humph, you brought a gift for me. I don't believe you. I'm telling you, if you dare to make a life-size doll again, I'll sacrifice my old bones and keep my innocence in the Marine. Garp still has some psychological trauma about Su Ming bringing gifts. I don't want to experience that feeling of social death a second time. Su Ming chuckled, didn't respond, and unzipped his backpack. Hey, old man Sengoku, this is for you. Good tea leaves are hard to come by. And this, some pet treats for your goat. Sengoku took the tea and placed the snack in front of his pet goat. Sengoku and Garp, these 2 old guys, drinking tea is one of their common hobbies. Hearing that Su Ming actually gave Sengoku a bag of the best tea, Garp was somewhat unhappy. He hugged his shoulders and snorted arrogantly. Su Ming smiled knowingly and hurried forward to hug Garp's shoulders. Hey, teacher, don't worry, how can I, as your disciple, not miss you? As he spoke, Su Ming took out a small package from his arms and stuffed it into Garp's hand. Garp looked at the gift from Su Ming with some suspicion. There are some incomprehensible small print on it. Advertisement. It should be a remote language of some small islands. I brought it close to my nose and sniffed it, and found that it also had a medicinal smell. Boy, you are not lying to me. Garp expressed doubts about his disciple. Su Ming raised his eyebrows. Damn. You old man, you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, right? 1 pack of yours is worth 10 packs of Sengoku's. Su Ming felt distressed. Ever since Garp, the stinky old man, passed on his divine tool for training his son, the supreme black slippers, to Luffy, the smell on his own leather shoes has been getting stronger and stronger. The problem was not easy to cure, so I asked someone to find a famous doctor to get the secret recipe of foot bath for the old man, but the old man refused to appreciate it. On the other hand, Garp was immediately happy when he heard Su Ming say that his tea leaves were better than Sengoku's. It doesn't matter whether it tastes good or not, as long as it's more expensive than old man Sengoku's gift. As for Sengoku, he looked at the tea leaves in his hand and suddenly felt that they were not fragrant anymore. Fortunately, I have 2 gifts. Although the gift from old man Garp is good, it is only one after all. Seeing that Su Ming was still trying to snatch it back, Garp quickly dodged. You little brat, how can you take something back after giving it away? Seeing Garp like this, Su Ming rolled his eyes, picked up the package, and prepared to leave. I'm leaving. I won't stay here any longer. I'm about to be promoted to Admiral, so I have to give my friends some thanks. You two old men. Su Ming flashed to the door and looked at the two of them with an ambiguous smile. Take care of yourself. After saying that, Su Ming disappeared in a flash. By the time the two of them reacted, Su Ming had already run far away. HMPH. This brat is getting more and more outrageous. Garp sat on the sofa angrily. Sengoku's eyes turned, but he set his sights on Garp's tea leaves. His eyes lit up. Stinky old man, you usually drink my tea, so today it's my turn to drink your tea too. Garp was shocked and hid the tea leaves in his arms. Don't even think about it. This is a gift from that brat to me as a gift to his master. FK. Garp, do you have any conscience? I've been in the Marine for so many years, and every time you got into trouble I was the one to clean it up for you. Now I won't even let you order tea. There was another noise in the office. Su Ming whistled and walked away. Oh, really, you two stinky old guys, I was afraid that you would fight, so I didn't even dare to send you tea. I hope that old man Garp's footbath is effective, otherwise the next time he sees his son, that guy Dorag will be in trouble. Wait, this stinky old man interrupted me and I forgot whether I told him it was for foot soaking. Su Ming was a little panicked for a moment, but he quickly shook his head and shook the thought away. Forget it, it's the same whether taken internally or applied externally. Chapter 163 Blue Xiaoyao Pill. Walking on the road, Su Ming whistled and suddenly felt a chill on his back. It seemed as if a resentful gaze was staring at him, causing Su Ming's hair to stand on end. Su Ming, it's great. You're back without telling me. I heard you're going to be an admiral, get promoted and make a fortune. What's next? Su Ming turned his head stiffly. The person who spoke was none other than Guon. Su Ming scratched his head and forced a stiff smile. Who am I to blame, dear? I am very busy. It's really hard to be an admiral. I haven't even received any gifts yet, but I'm already thinking about giving them. If I don't do it right, people will say I forgot about my old friends after getting promoted. I'm sure the mature, beautiful, sexy and generous Guon will understand me, right? Su Ming shamelessly praised Guon. Obviously, with women, no matter what the circumstances, you can't go wrong if you compliment her on her beauty. Guon hugged his shoulders and snorted proudly, glaring at Su Ming. You haven't come to me since I came back from the shichibukai fight. I thought someone was just trying to take advantage of me. Su Ming chuckled, hurried forward, and while Guon wasn't paying attention, he hugged her in his arms. Guon was startled by Su Ming's sudden attack, her pretty face turned red and she quickly said, Don't make a fuss, this is the headquarters, what if someone sees us? Hey, just watch it, I'm being intimate with my own wife, who cares what I do? Guon rolled his eyes, you and Khalifa often say this, too. As for whether Hina, the Empress, said so, I remain skeptical. Seeing that Guon was not easy to deceive, Su Ming couldn't help but smile awkwardly again. Mature women have their advantages, but the disadvantage is that some of the nonsense men say is not very effective. You are all my wings. So, clang. Guon, who was held in his arms, pulled out a section of the Kinpila sword and kept pointing it at Su Ming's lower body. Hey, calm down, this concerns your happiness for the rest of your life. Although his defense was invincible, he had absolutely no interest in letting his little brother come into contact with the supreme sword. Seeing Su Ming's nervous look, Guon covered his mouth and chuckled before putting the knife back into the sheath. Although I don't know what you just said, but from what I know about you, it's definitely not a good thing. Just this was a small punishment for you. I'll settle the score with you later. Guon grabbed Su Ming's collar and whispered in Su Ming's ear in a sweet voice. Advertisement. Guon, who has already lost her youthfulness, now exudes the unique charm of a young woman. Now she is so provocative, Su Ming only feels like a fire is burning in his lower abdomen. Just when I was thinking about whether I should find a place to vent my anger with this girl, Guon suddenly ran away. Su Ming. Guon chuckled. What are you looking at? Go visit sister He when you have time. She specifically asked me to see you. After saying this, Guon left without giving Su Ming any chance to do anything bad, leaving only a faint fragrance behind. Su Ming looked at Guon's leaving back and smacked his lips. This girl is getting bolder and bolder. It seems that I need to give her a shake in the next 2 days. Throwing the image of Guon's graceful figure out of his mind, Su Ming thought for a moment, and finally walked towards the office where he was. Bang, bang, bang. There was a knock on E's office door. Crane, who was sitting behind the desk, raised his eyes slightly and pulled the marine cloak draped over his body. Enter. The door opened and Su Ming poked his head in from outside, looking inside with a smile. Senior Crane, I'm here to see you. As one of the few female generals' offices in the Marine Corps, Suru's office is obviously much tidier than that of the old man Sengoku. Of course, Garp also played an important role in achieving this result. If it weren't for that old man showing off his snacks in Sengoku's office all day long, Sengoku's office would be easier to keep clean. Seeing that the person coming was Su Ming, his face immediately showed some displeasure. Huh, so it's you, brat. You kidnapped my sister, and you didn't tell me for so long. If I hadn't told Guon that I wanted to see you, you wouldn't have planned to come, right? Although Crane is not as strong as Sengoku and Garp. Not even as good as the 3 admirals. But Su Ming, who was not afraid of Garp or Sengoku, was somewhat afraid of the female general He. Of course, it is not a fear out of strength or status. If I have to describe it, it would probably be a guilty conscience. Advertisement. Although Suru claims to be Guion's sister, anyone can see that to Guion, Suru is like a parent. I have actually poached someone else's good sister, so it's not surprising that I feel guilty. Su Ming chuckled and scratched his head. Senior He, don't be like this, I didn't come here empty-handed. Su Ming picked up his backpack, trying to win favor. HMPH, come in and talk. After putting Su Ming into the office, he turned around and poured Su Ming a glass of water. I've heard about your story. Have you really thought about it? You want to be an admiral. That's not an easy job. Su Ming took the cup, took a sip, and smiled. Whether it's easy or not depends on who's sitting there. I think it's pretty easy to be Admiral Kizaru. Hearing this, he couldn't help but roll his eyes. What Su Ming said was true. Among all the Marine generals, no one lived more freely than Kizaru except Su Ming. Then Su Ming said, besides, I didn't ask to be the admiral. The 5 elders gave me a death order, so I have to do it. Otherwise, it will be difficult. Oh, is that so? I understand. Yi wisely did not ask any further questions. Although Su Ming is considered a junior, the level he is exposed to is different from what he is exposed to. Justice is effective in the Marine, but when it comes to the world government or even the 5 elders, it is just a slogan. Sengoku Garp and other Marine high-ranking officials also understood this truth, so even though they knew that Su Ming had done some things that were out of line, they never used justice to restrain Su Ming. He gave Su Ming a deep look. Boy, no matter what you do in the future, you must take good care of Guion, otherwise I, as your sister, will never let you go. Su Ming rubbed his temples. If I said that I didn't want to do anything but just wanted to make some money and be a small leader, would you believe me? Su Ming is telling the truth. From the beginning to the end, I just wanted to live a peaceful and carefree life. Whether it is improving strength or building up power, it is only for self-protection. There was no way. The 5 elders and the person behind them were too sensitive. Without some tricks, Su Ming would have lost all his lives even if he had 30 lives. But apparently no one believed Su Ming's truth. The crane in front of him looked at Su Ming, and the look in his eyes clearly said, I don't even believe in punctuation marks. If you have no ambition, why would Night Bar become a force that overwhelms 4 emperors? Is it really just to make money? Chapter 164 I will rush to the battlefield in Gundam form. Su Ming didn't know what he was thinking. If he knew, he would definitely explain it to him. I really just do this to make money. After chatting for a while, Su Ming took out a gift package in the same way as the Chinese medicine he gave to Garp and placed it on his desk. Hey, Senior He, I know you're old and your blood circulation isn't very active. I asked someone to get this good stuff for you. You can use it to soak your feet and relax your muscles and blood circulation. More importantly, it can also beautify your skin. Crane raised his brow. HMPH, don't think you can buy me off with just this little thing. If I knew you were bullying Guion, I would not forgive you. He walked past the desk calmly, but when he looked again, the gift on the desk had disappeared. Su Ming's face twitched. He really is a person who says one thing but acts another. It seems that no matter how old a woman is, she can't resist something that can make her look younger and more beautiful. Okay, it's nothing. Don't make me angry here. I have something else to do. Su Ming chuckled, with an expression that said, I understand. Pick up your backpack and prepare to leave, etc. Seeing Su Ming coming to the door, he suddenly called him. Senior, is there anything else? Su Ming turned around and asked doubtfully. He stood in front of the window, looking at the scenery outside, as if hiding something. How do you measure this thing you gave me? Su Ming, and said he didn't like it. After explaining to he that this thing only needed to be used once, Su Ming left. Su Ming was absolutely modest when he described the efficacy of this medicine. After all, I spent my slacking points to exchange for life potions to mix in. Alas, I am really worried about these old men and women. Using the life potion directly would be too obvious and would attract too much attention. After all, if a few old men and women over 50 years old were full of energy the next day after taking the life potion, it would be hard not to suspect that I fed them the blue pill. The news that Su Ming was about to become admiral quickly spread throughout the naval headquarters. Smoker, Hina, Flying Squirrel, Huo Shaoshan and other marines who were familiar with Su Ming naturally came to congratulate. Of the 3 admirals, Kizaru is arguably the most enthusiastic. Sir Su Ming is going to be the admiral, so please take good care of him in the future. Aokiji seemed like a senior and patted Su Ming on the shoulder. Stick to the justice in your heart. As for Akainu, although he was reluctant to see Su Ming become Marine Admiral, after all, they would be at the same level in the future, so he had to save face. Advertisement. More importantly, this guy controls his own salary. Akainu walked up to Su Ming with a gloomy face. Congratulations. Akainu said these 2 words with such a heavy heart. Su Ming felt so comfortable listening to it. Haha, thanks to Admiral Akainu. It's strange, but I really don't want to be an admiral. The problem is that those old guys in the 5 elders insisted that I be one. Alas, as expected, being handsome can also be a kind of trouble. Akainu's teeth chattered when he heard Su Ming's words. Thinking about how much hair I had pulled out in worry in order to become an admiral, I was able to impress the 5 elders. Even so, you still say in a high-sounding manner that you still need to examine yourself. As a result, when it came to this kid, the 5 old men almost begged Su Ming to take over the position. Damn it, there is really no future in fighting and killing, and a career in politics is the real thing. For the first time, Akainu began to doubt the path he had chosen. Su Ming imitated Aokiji and patted Akainu's shoulder. Xiaochuan, you have a bright future. I am optimistic about you. After saying that, Su Ming ignored Akainu who didn't react and climbed onto the platform. Sengoku held up the admiral's epaulets. Su Ming, from today on, you are the 4th admiral of the naval headquarters, codenamed Lei Ming. Ding. Congratulations to the host, your position has been promoted to admiral, and you can earn 50,000 slacking points per hour. Closing square bracket. Ding. Congratulations to the host, your position has been promoted and you have a chance to win a legendary prize draw. Closing square bracket. The system voice sounded again. Su Ming's eyes lit up. A long-awaited lottery. Ever since I opened the mall and the technology arsenal, I haven't been able to find enough time to slack off. In addition, my abilities have not yet reached their peak. So there was no new ability lottery. But things are different now. Su Ming called up his property panel and took a look. Open black lens bracket host. Su Ming close black lens bracket. Talent. Extraordinary physique, mystic eyes of death. Swordsmanship. Supreme swordsman. Observation hockey. Top-level rare observation hockey, foresee the future, ultra-long distance, detect inner voice. Armament color. Top-level armament color emission, hockey coverage, attack enhancement, fruit ability suppression. Conquerors. Top conquerors entanglement, shock. Advertisement. Thunder god fruit. Proficiency can switch between 3 forms, freely master the power of thunder and lightning. Skills. Ultimate swordsmanship, Elbaf spear, Marine 6 styles, life return, 6 king's gun, thunder god martial body. Closing square bracket. Open black lens bracket logging points, 24.25 million close black lens bracket. Except for the fact that the fruit ability has not awakened, the physical fitness of other hockey and himself has basically reached the limit. It's time to improve your strength in other aspects. Su Ming didn't even wait to step down from the stage, and chose to start the lottery directly. The familiar light wheel turntable appeared. The aperture keeps rotating. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the legendary bloodline, the Hokage World Indra bloodline. Closing square bracket. Su Ming felt some changes in the meridians in his body. It seems that there are several more meridians for transferring energy. A hidden power also emerged from his eyes. But it seems that something is missing. Su Ming, who is familiar with the 3 major comics, naturally knows what the Indra bloodline is. Simply put, he is the ancestor of the Uchiha clan. Before, I thought that although my various abilities had been developed to almost the top level, there was still one shortcoming. That is, it is at a disadvantage when dealing with large enemies. Now, because of the Shira bloodline, if I open the Mangekyo Sharingan, I can activate Susanoo. Su Ming just wants to say one thing. I will go to the battlefield in Gundam form. Just think about activating Susanoo, attaching weapons and Conqueror's Haki, and adding the Thunder God fruit. Damn, I feel like I can help teacher guy quit his addiction to the king. At the same time, the news that Su Ming became admiral spread throughout the world. New World caused quite a stir. Wanokuni. The wine gourd in Kaido's hand was crushed. This guy finally became an admiral. Damn it. On the side, the 3 Beasts Pirates bosses looked at Kaido and silently memorized Su Ming's name. All nations. After reading the newspaper, the old lady stuffed the cake into her mouth frantically. The children didn't know what was going on. Mama, even if the Marine has one more admiral, it won't have much impact on us. Only top pirates like the 4 emperors know that Su Ming is the owner of the night bar. Even though everyone knew that Charlotte Linlin had been taught a lesson by the Thunder Emperor, no one connected Su Ming with the Thunder Emperor who had oppressed the 4 emperors to the point where they could not raise their heads. Chapter 165 Garp arrives. New World. Shanks leaned against the railing, reading the newspaper in his hand and taking a deep puff of his cigarette. Sure enough, after Zephyr Admiral left, the 5 elders asked him to take his place. But 5 elders doesn't really think he can control this guy, does he? Since I became Su Ming's hidden partner over the years, I gradually came to understand how terrifying the power of Su Ming's subordinates is. From the most intuitive point of view, as long as your pirates group randomly lands on a small island and proves their identity at the night bar, no matter how much supplies they need, they will be at the dock the next day, without any less. The superficial pirates only saw the terrifying financial strength of the night bar, but failed to notice that in addition to the financial strength, the night bar also had terrifying control over material supplies. Being able to prepare a large amount of supplies in a short period of time can easily cut off all sources of supplies. It was because he saw through this that Red Hair understood why Kaido and Big Mom still wanted to do business with Su Ming honestly even though Su Ming beat him so badly. Because they had no choice at all. Both of them have their own fixed territories. If they dare to provoke each other, not to mention going out to sea, even eating will become a problem. This sea is different now. The red-haired girl tilted her head back, feeling the salty sea breeze. At the same time, a kingdom was undergoing revolutionary liberation. Dorag stood at the best viewing position on the cliff, looking down at the battle situation below. Dragon, now that we have liberated this kingdom, the remaining areas are difficult to deal with. Either the Marine World Government is stationed here all year round, or we are closer to the Marine base. A leader of the Revolutionary Army frowned. With the support of Su Ming's weapons and the help of the world government over the years, the development of the Revolutionary Army can be said to be very smooth. In just a few years, several kingdoms had been conquered and successfully liberated. But even so, the development of the Revolutionary Army reached a bottleneck. The problem of this Revolutionary Army leader is actually what Dragon is worried about. As the official leader of the Revolutionary Army, Dragon knew that if the Revolutionary Army could not find a new breakthrough in a short period of time, its development would stagnate. By then it will be easy for the world government to seize the weakness. Dorag was thinking about whether there was any way to break the deadlock. Dragon, look at this. The S******** King ran towards Dorag excitedly, holding the latest newspaper in his hand. Dorag pulled down his hood and looked at the newspaper the S******* King had brought. The newspaper headlines clearly stated. The photo of Su Ming is featured in the advertisement titled, Marine's Youngest Admiral Lei Ming. Advertisement. There are also some senior Marine generals in the same frame. Long, Comrade Su Ming has become an admiral. What should we do if we encounter Su Ming in the future? Are we really going to do it? The Revolutionary Army has been besieged by the Admiral many times in these years. After the Demon King finished speaking, he did not hear Dorag's answer. When I looked up, I found that Dorag was holding the newspaper in his hand and his body was shaking. Long, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? Dorag slowly raised his head and once again covered his face with the hood so that no one could see his expression. At the same time, he carefully folded the newspaper and put it in his arms. I'm fine. Sure enough, no matter what time, our Revolutionary Army can trust Comrade Su Ming unconditionally. The Demon King and a group of senior generals of the Revolutionary Army were confused. Ah, did Comrade Su Ming do something shameful again? A smile appeared on Dorag's lips. Yes, it's incredible, very incredible. It can be said that it has helped our Revolutionary Army open up a new situation. Comrade Su Ming is holding a promotion ceremony at the headquarters right now. So where do you think the Marines' top fighters are now? This newspaper has given us clear news. Inform our comrades, we will seize this opportunity to liberate the three kingdoms in one fell swoop. The Demon King scratched his head. Long, although this is indeed a good opportunity, are you sure it was Comrade Su Ming who did it? If I guess wrong. Dorag shook his head firmly. No, I know that Comrade Su Ming has taken control of our headquarters and newspapers around the world. He must be the one passing the message to us. The newspaper funded by Su Ming didn't know what Dorag was thinking. If they knew, they would definitely cry out that it was unfair. This is not okay. You little b********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** D. Su Ming was overwhelmed with gifts in the first few days of the headquarters. Su Ming, who was at the naval headquarters, also didn't know about these things. You little brat, the admirals from the naval headquarters have all been dispatched. It's unreasonable for you not to go, right? On the day of your succession ceremony, that guy took advantage of the absence of the senior marines and conquered 3 kingdoms in one fell swoop. The world government was furious and ordered all marine admirals to go out and encircle and suppress the revolutionary army. Advertisement. The coronation ceremony was over quickly. But let me make it clear first, it's okay to raise your hand, but if the world government asks about it later, you will have to take the blame. Don't worry, old man. Since you've asked me, I have to give you face. Although we didn't make as much money from the revolutionary army as we did from the world government, a small amount of money is still meat. Without waiting for Garp to say more, Su Ming stood up. Stinky old man, go to Sengoku for snacks and Suru Senpai for tea. Unfortunately, this situation didn't last more than 2 days before Garp broke into his office. I don't have what you want. What's going on? Is Sengoku going to attack Mariajoy? The reason why he took on so many marine generals was to support his boss, and he never thought of passing on the message to the revolutionary army. Of course, I didn't forget to take care of the 2 girls, Guon and Khalifa. Garp didn't buy Su Ming's trick and sat down on the sofa. Su Ming chose to shut Garp up directly. There has to be a suitable reason. Okay, old man, I feel relieved when you say that. Okay, you have to hold on to it. Su Ming's eyes lit up and he looked at Garp. Now the reason was clear. Let me tell you, I don't go on missions because of the 5 elders' special permission. Without waiting for Garp to speak, Su Ming knew something bad was going to happen when he saw the expression on Garp's face. Garp, life is pretty comfortable. Shit, the guy who's number 1 on the list is going to beat the guy who's number 2. But if I go there and deliberately let him win, it will be easy for him to become the number 1 on the list. I slack off every day, or I study how to drive a Gundam. Garp snorted coldly, you don't need to remind me, brat. If you have any problems, just push them onto me. What's more, he also has the money-making project of Super Satellite Orbital Cannon. Su Ming was thinking when Garp on the opposite side suddenly spoke. Don't talk nonsense, it was that kid Dorag. Are they all out? Su Ming was a little confused. Su Ming's heart skipped a beat.